entombed for 3,000 years, wrath growing in me. I have lived an eternity, suspended in darkness. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curse fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me, release me, wasting and rotting. Release me, release me. My curse is your curse, death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands, I feel no remorse. This is the mummy's corpse. Release me, release me, wasting and rotting. ghost down the hallway. There's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes. A breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed.
Seeking power over those that oppose me. Unspeakable crime, murder at midnight. A deal I made, a life I had to take. Someone I loved once held so tight. Those screams will follow me. Cries of my ancestors said, go away. My offering, fasting in grain, shape shifting. I feel the animal hiding inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. This form I desire, innocent blood I will devour. Ancestors gathering round the dwelling, the spirit inhabiting, evil enveloping, the dancing braves in the night, the spirit occupying and transforming, stolen heights, dark practices, my secret life, feathered outers, mysticism, intriguing, my offering, fasting in grain, shape shifting. I feel the animal hiding inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. Give me the ability to hide in plain sight, so no one can see me, not even in the light. I am the crawler, I'm a within, I'm nobody's friend. This initiation is all part of the dark creation. My desires performing incantations. I walk in disguise. If I catch you, it's your demise. Shamanism, my religion, summoning spirits, manifesting myself and changing my flesh. A nightmare to behold. I'ma make you part of the fold. The skin of a man, the soul of a predator. The change is complete. This thing I become, my flesh has succumbed. My offering, fasting in grain,
Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable, folks. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is PRT. So some people call it PRT, some people call it Paranormal Roundtable, whatever. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. It just doesn't matter. Some people call us Poo Poo Caca Head Deluxe. Because they hate us. So apparently, I was talking to someone who actually does like promotions and things like that, and he was saying he's a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, but he's promoted like rappers and all these different types of people. You know, during South by Southwest, they have all these people that show up here in Austin, and they do all this crazy stuff. You know, and he was telling me that it's a good thing to have haters. And his female partner, whatever, I was talking to her a couple days ago, and she was saying the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, you know, James is right. You know, it's good to have haters because that shows that you're popular." Which is so. I said, "Yeah, but mine are a real pain in the ass." She said, "No, it's okay. That's good. Let them hate." She said, "Yeah, and you're doing the right thing." This is what they told me, folks. They said that I'm doing the right thing by exposing them and at the same time promoting the fact that we have haters. So actually, I've been doing it all wrong all this time, and I actually realize now that I am supposed to be happy and glad. We're supposed to be happy, Anthony, that we have haters. So thank you, James and Alicia, because I had no clue. I was just completely... I was like, oh, these people, they say these things, they do these things. He messaged me and he reached out to me. And he used to be a DJ downtown. DJ Antifreeze. I'm joking. That's what Sub-Zero. But he's a cool dude. I've known him for years and years. Originally from Venezuela. But what's crazy though, he was like, no, it's good to have haters. That's good. That's a good thing. And I'm like, wow, who would have known? You know. And so I was told this by the Zoomers, but I thought that like Anthony's little brothers, you know, and my niece and some other people, they're like, no, Uncle Wolf, that's good that you have haters. That means you're popular. You're not one of those women on Instagram who pretends like they have haters. And I'm like, they pretend they have haters? Like what? So they pretend to have enemies like I do. So yeah, so I want to let the enemies know. I'm just going to give you a shout out. The enemy, hi enemies. You keep doing what you're doing, you little haters. Because apparently you're really helping me. That's helping me. Because the mass reporting can only do so much, and then they have to stop. They stop looking into it because it's like the boy that cried wolf type thing apparently. And so yeah, that was really cool. I found that out, and then last night we went to Rumble, and we rumbled for whatever, and we had a good time. We had a good show. How many people we ended up in there in the chat? 700.
Yeah, we almost had 700 at one point.
We blew away our normal Saturday numbers, and here's the good thing. You know, some of those people were haters because there were people that disliked it, like right away. They were disliking it.
Yeah, there were like 3 or 4 dislikes right away.
Y'all know who you are. Thank you for those too, because that actually helps the algorithms too. So don't do anything if you're a hater. I'm just giving you free advice, but I'm just, this isn't to help me. I'm being honest. You're only hurting your own cause. But so we need a few of those. So, to do what we got to do, we have to be angry, to be pissed. That's what you need. And sorry for some of the cussing. I just got a little carried away. I was like, I'm free, breaking these bonds, And so I said some things that I will not say on YouTube. Go check it out, folks. 8.5 thousand and not even, what is it? Not even 24 hours. 8.5 thousand views.
Yeah, you hit the ground running on Rumble.
Good stuff. It was Chris Kramer and Chris James. Chris James had said, "Oh, I forgot we're on. we're not on YouTube." He was cringing a little bit, and then he realized, "Oh wait, we're not on YouTube."
Yeah.
He's like, "We're not on YouTube. Sorry." I'd like,
yeah,
exactly.
Watch what he says.
Yeah, I'm so used to like being, under control here. But tonight's story is going to be epic. I mean, it is incredible what this guy Avery, what you went through, pal. Unbelievable. But I do believe you. And I had another person check this guy, and that's Tony. And Tony is completely reliable, however stoned he is. Okay, I'm joking, folks. he quit smoking. He says it's made him on edge. I was like, no, it's called being normal.
Yeah.
You don't need to self-medicate all the time, my friend.
Kind of tends to happen when you think about things, it puts you on edge.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's not in the chat because he's not going to do it unless he's, whatever. So what we got tonight, we got an amazing story. We were going to put it on the podcast episode, and we still may because it's so long. It's going to be referenced for sure. Oh, gosh, guys, you are going to have to be here tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we got a guy that's going to come on, and we're going to talk about cults doing what they do and how they fit into this whole thing with the state and national parks. And this story is going to kind of kick that off because the next three shows, probably the podcast episode too, is going to deal with this kind of stuff. We're going to let the chat fill up a little bit, and until that happens, we're just going to talk crap. So this guy, man, it was unbelievable. Me and Anthony went over this story a little bit. Was it yesterday, day before yesterday? We were talking about it. Mm-hmm. And the incredible thing that happened to this guy. It's unbelievable. And it's funny because me and Anthony were talking about it, and it was like, we've heard this before. But something similar to this, but I had not researched this. So I go on YouTube and I look up this story, not his story. Well, his story is told me first, but that's a good thing. But there was other stuff about this, and the first thing I see is Linda Moulton Howe, one of my colleagues on there, and she's a really nice lady. She promoted my book and had Joe Barger on the show, and everything. And she's got an amazing show, huge channel that comes on Wednesdays. And she don't need to be promoted. She's got like 2,500, 3,000 something people in the chat. I mean, she's an OG. She don't need my help. But she's doing some amazing work, and always has. People have all their knocks on them. They have their reasons. They don't like her. They don't like L.A. Marzulli, or they don't like what's the other dude? Billy Carson. And everybody's telling me, work with this person, don't work with that person, work with this person, don't work with that person. The thing is, I don't know what the future holds. I didn't like the way that Carson's thing was full of ads. That's the only thing I said. I don't dislike Billy Carson. His information is pretty epic. But there was so many ads on there because if I have YouTube Premium, but if you don't, it's crazy. So he's on Gaia all the time. And thank you, Gaia. I want to send a shout out to them for taking $242 out of my account and not giving it back.
You're welcome.
I want to send a shout out to PayPal too for not even trying.
Anytime.
They're just like, look, they took your money, and there's nothing us or YouTube or PayPal, eBay, Amazon, no one can do anything about it, and that sucks. Would you like a mint? And they're like, and if you don't mind, I got a 5 o'clock. You can leave. And I'm like, are you serious? And PayPal's like, yeah, screw off. Please go. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. They're like, okay, that's fine. They're pushing the panic button. Two big guys come in. Please escort Mr. Burner, was it? No, Turner. Please escort him out of the building. This man is disgruntled. He probably needs to be on lithium or Prozac or some other sort of lithium, something that ends with am.
Just someone grab a pill and put it in his mouth.
Put a pill in this man's mouth. Make him happy when he's leaving and getting his ass kicked out the door. That's how they treated me. They were just like, oh, we're so sorry. We don't give a shit. Sorry. They really don't. They did not care. They were just like, we've made our decision. I'm like, already? I hadn't even called you yet. They'd already called me and told me they made a decision.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say no. Yeah.
They came to me in a dream. I was asleep. I woke up. I was like, whoa. PayPal contacted me. And they said, you're screwed. They used the force. It was actually in Yoda's voice. They were like, screwed you are. Your money you will not get. I was like, wow. Called Gaia, and it was just, we've disconnected our phone so we can take money and not be responsible for anything you do. We are not caring that you are not happy, and you will not be satisfied in no time. Goodbye. So now I have a Gaia Premium, which I was too, wound up and too much stuff going on to even realize that I still had the Gaia Regular that I didn't even watch. I don't have time to watch. Who has time to watch the Earth? That's what Gaia means, the Earth, right? I don't have time to watch the Earth as the world turns. I don't have time. And now we have to come out. We have to do 2 other cease and desist. We got 3 of them done, but we got 3 more. So we can get these people to stop. But one of these people, it's a woman. She's insane. She's absolutely nuts. And she violated one that was by someone else. I'm not going to get into their business, but they put it all over one of the groups. And so I'm sitting there trying to go to bed, and this person's like messaging us, I reject your prayers. Like, I'm like, what in the hell? Who rejects a prayer? It's crazy. We're trying to pray for you. We're trying to pray the crazy away. Trying to help you. No, I'm not. I wasn't trying to help you. Nellie was. She was trying to help you. I didn't care. I don't really care about you. I mean, I pray for my enemies because I'm supposed to. But honestly, dude, I'm really sick of y'all. Sick of your crap. But apparently, like they said, Alicia said today, she's like, no, that's a good thing. Her and James, very good thing. Good. To have haters. I'm like, what kind of world is this? When we were young, the Generation X, which a lot of you are, when was it a good thing to have haters? When you had haters as a Generation X, Anthony, I'm going to tell you this because you're a millennial.
You probably actually got beat up all the time.
You got beat up constantly. They were like waiting there around the corner to beat you up, and they were like, yeah, this is the hate club, and this is what happens. You don't talk about hate club either because you get more hate, which was really just getting beat up. When you hated somebody and y'all hated each other, you fought every time you saw each other. Every time. You could be at a quinceañera and it was you could have the belt on. What's that little sash or whatever? Yeah. And you're like, nah, man, I'm taking this off and I'm taking this dress shirt off, dude. I don't care if it's a rental. This dude, F that guy. He's a hater. It's chingazo's time. All right, that's what's happening. You talking trash, Holmes? What's up? And then next thing you know, you're punching each other. What's weird, I remember watching a show years ago called Angel Town, and it was the first time that I had heard them saying Holmes, because that was something that was started in California. And there was this guy in L.A. that was fighting his way out of the barrio. It was crazy. And so we were watching it as like young teenagers. I was like 15 or something maybe. And we were like, Holmes? Like we weren't saying that over here. It was California. It was Chicanos, not Tejanos. They weren't really saying that. And then after that a bunch of people started saying it, What's crazy, though, is that we thought that, over here in Texas, that was the black people said that. And the black people were like, we ain't saying that. We say homie. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. So we figured it out. So my black friends in Taylor, my hometown, I was like, we were actually joking around at a party, like we're deciding how we were going to say things. Like at the community center in South Taylor, a bunch of black and Hispanic kids, and we were like
having a committee meeting.
Yeah, we were having a meeting. We're like, are we supposed to say homie or Holmes? Because that movie said this and this movie said that, and we were sitting there and we were like, what?
Dude, I'm just picturing y'all sitting around in like powdered wigs and like
wigs. And then the white kids are like, so whatever y'all want to do, we're going to copy it. We're middle-class white kids. We're just going to copy what you do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Do whatever you do, whatever you want to do. And so I was like, okay, so y'all say homie, and we'll say Holmes, and we'll button up the top button and walk like this and be choked to death, which is so – I never did that. Some people will do it. And then the first time I went to my – I'm going to tell you a funny story. Do you know how Dickies became popular, like amongst the Latinos, the Chicanos and Tejanos? They would with the pantalones and they'd walk around. And I went to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I need chinos. I didn't know what the hell they were. I just know I need to go to Wieners. There's a place literally called Wieners. And guess what? It was up here. It was right up here, right over here. There's shopping center up here in this area. This was a small 2-lane road up here, going up here. Now it's just massive 4 lanes on both sides. That's unbelievable. So we went to this one Wieners, and they didn't have those. And they said, well, you need to go to the one off of 183. It's way up there. and it's like further up from where we're at. And so I said, okay. So we went to Wieners, and I went in there, and they said, yeah, we got those. And they were the ugliest damn pants I'd ever seen. And then they had the khaki Dickies pants. And I'm like, I'm supposed to wear these to school? I'm not wearing this crap. This is crap. But then they said, because they have all that stuff that's like bargain bin stuff that didn't make it in another store. They'll get the crap over the holdover,
Yeah.
And so they had Z Cavarici there, so I got a pair of those for like $20, which back then was $20 was quite a bit, but not like it is now, because those silver tabs from Levi's were $40. They were always $40. Mm-hmm. So buying 3 pairs of pants was like a monumental task for my mom. She wasn't going to do that. She just wasn't going to do it. And at that time, she didn't have a lot of money, and she just was not one of those people that was going to buy a lot of stuff. So she got me 2 pairs of pants that day, and I remember one was Z Cavarici and the other one were a pair of Gerbots. And then on my dad's side, he got me a pair of Guess. Or no, my sister got me some for my birthday. It was a nice thing she did for me. So altogether, I had 3 pairs of pants to go back to school. And but those Z Cavarici were so weird. They didn't have a back pocket, and by the time you got home, your crotch was riding up, and it was, because it was real loose and baggy in the front, and then it was like going up in the back. So you ended up pulling them up in the front and pulling them all the way up to your navel. They were horrible, and we went around suffering because we thought we looked cool like that. And turned out I didn't give a crap. I was just suffering because that's all I had. Was that. And then third day of school, I think it was the third day of school, my Gerbots got messed up, and I had to wear them messed up the rest of the year, which sucked. And so I didn't have much clothes. But and my friends were like, you could have went to the Goodwill and got Dickies. And I was like, really? Wow. Then you would have been cool because you're wearing cheap people's clothes. It was weird. It was a weird time. And then white T-shirts with Dickies. That was the cool thing. You wore that and you were like, oh, you're badass. I just thought it looked stupid. By the time I came to live in Austin, the kids here were a lot more fashionable. They had a lot more to choose from. And you'd come to school and they'd be like, oh, you're wearing those? What is that? And these are ghetto kids, man. They were picky ghetto kids. They would be like, I'm wearing this. I live in a 2-room shack, but I'm wearing nice clothes. Because it was all about looks. So the funny thing is, your brother came to us a few Christmases ago, before he graduated, and he asked for Champion.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
And I'm like, I was in shock, folks. I was like, what, Champion? And like I said, we're waiting for the chat to get up here. And I said, mijo, that's what we say in Spanish, I said, mijo, why are you wearing the cheap, why? That's from Walmart. I mean, is that what y'all do now? I was like, yes, they've had a breakthrough and they realize the clothes don't mean shit.
Yeah.
I thought that's what had happened. Because they haven't mean shit to me since I was 15. I don't care about, I don't give a crap, and so they're like, no, that's the end thing, right? Mm-hmm. So me and Anthony and Tony, we were out shopping, doing a Christmas shopping, and Tony told me, expect to spend like $40, $50 on a hoodie for the Champion stuff, and I went to Academy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? This Walmart thing that used to be workout clothes.
Yeah.
From Walmart.
Yeah, even when I was a kid, it was like Champion was the Walmart brand. So
you're sitting there going like, what in the hell is this? And then when I was a teenager, there was Body Glove. Ocean Pacific, was it OP? Was it Ocean Pacific? Was another one? I can't remember. No Fear. Somebody says No Fear. Yeah, No Fear was the big deal too. There was another one. Guess jeans and the Guess cologne, which was horrible. I got some for my birthday, and I was so excited. I hadn't smelled it. I think my sister was just a cruel person who likes to say things that aren't true. She's like, I smelled the new Guess cologne and it's better than the Lagerfeld. Yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. Thanks for that one. Scorpion, they didn't even cost no $15, $25. You're only a couple years younger than me. What are you talking about, Mentiroso? It wasn't no it was like $10, $12, man.
Yeah,
and you
it's
could get a
cheap.
hoodie for like a big oversized hoodie for 20 at most, man. What are you talking about? $15, $25. You know what you're talking about. Tony said, guess who smell like ass now? So I guess Tony's in the chat. So look, here's what happened. Like I had a pair of Guess jeans, and guess what color they were? Take a guess. You'll never guess. They were white. So I had white pants, folks, like a painter. Yeah. So I ended up wearing those white pants. And, of course, they ended up getting a stain on them and another stain on them and another. So I went and I bought some black dye to make these pants, you know, like hide the stains and everything. I could get rid of them. You know, there was like a grass stain on the front of one. It was crazy. I was out there in the yard playing football and thinking, oh, I'm okay. I can play a pickup game here, and I'm not going to slide like I did. And so, yeah, Peace Frog's laughing. Go ahead, laugh. That's funny. So what ended up happening, I get this dye, right, and I throw it in the wash. And I had those pants forever. I was the same size from the time I was like 16 until I was like 25. I had those jeans. They lasted forever. And guess what color they came out? Take a guess. The color of Incredible Hulk's pants, purple. And so I wear those to the club one time, you know, and it was Squid's first day. I'll never forget. He was working at another club called Platinum X. There's a show they're coming out with, and our friend Deuce King, we don't know if it's going to be on Netflix or HBO or what. He got a TV show now. I couldn't believe Deuce. Congratulations to Deuce, man. Deuce is go look him up on my Facebook. He's on there. He's a boxing coach.
He's a great guy.
MMA coach. Couldn't happen to a better guy. He came during the vacuum of my departure. And if you don't know the story, I'm not going to get into it tonight because it's a long, convoluted story that Christopher Garetano wants to tell. And so when I left doing what I was doing down there, they created sort of a vacuum. So when Douche showed up, somebody says Douche. No, don't be funny. This guy is a former pro MMA fighter. His name is Deuce. So Deuce, like that's his name, Deuce King. He literally has a show coming out, and I think G Bully, another one of our friends and a rapper here, a local rapper, he's in the show. Mm-hmm. He's one of the actors. And so anyway, it starts off. They're talking about they changed the names around, but that's one of them is the owner of Platinum X, who I came up with. I grew up with. He was my neighbor, lived across the street from us, and I was his bodyguard as a teenager. Can you believe that? His brothers from Lebanon, they hired me as a 16-year-old. They gave me like $50 a week to watch him because he was getting bullied. And so, true story. So they saw me, I could fight. They saw me that I rode my bike or I jogged to Mentopolis, which was 4 miles. And I'd run the 4 miles, and then I would go and I would train. And then I would run back home. Almost 5 miles. And I did that every day after school. Still did my homework and still, whatever. If I wasn't playing other sports. So I gave up wrestling one year to do that, to start boxing, training. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then I decided to wrestle too. I did both. And I still managed to kill it. Thank you for that donation. Josh Turner, POTPodcast.com. That's how you send the stories and get them to me. Patreon.com. Please subscribe to the Patreon. That helps immensely. You have no idea how much that really helps. Put the link up to the PayPal. If you don't want to donate through YouTube, which is fine, donate it directly to PayPal because they don't take anything out. And Rumble, we didn't get very many donations yesterday because people were telling me they didn't know how to do it. So there's a learning curve there, and that's fine. We're still going to keep doing it on Saturday. But if you're interested in donating, they take out a lot less than YouTube does. But feel free to donate if you want to YouTube. That's great. Barry, those memberships, just so everybody else knows. If you buy a membership, you get entered to win a prize on Sunday. We're going to do giveaways every Sunday. So what we're going to do to make it fair to everybody that can help, whatever. It's only $5 a month. It's a $5 a month commitment. I don't even think you have to commit to doing it more than a month at a time, right? I don't think it's not a recurring. Is it recurring?
I mean, you can cancel it whenever.
You can cancel it whenever. It's pretty easy. So, anyways, I think okay. So it's a $5 commitment, and we have this membership thing, and we're not doing anything with it, but that will get you into the drawing every Sunday. We're going to do them every Sunday, going from here on out. The lawyers gave us the go ahead after the crap that happened last winter with this liar woman. So now we got it. We're back up. And so if you are and even if you've won before, and it's just whoever wants to buy a membership, that's how you get entered into the thing. It's only $5, and it's a great way to help the show. Another great way to help the show, which I really like, is for people to go and buy merchandise, because you'll be repping our stuff. And that's a walking advertisement for us. Right? And then you help us with by buying the merchandise. So that's another thing. You're gonna love this. In June or July, we're going to have this new line of clothing that we're coming out with. It's like a street camo, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's another one that's like a green camo. They're different types of camo, and it's got the cool logos on there. And we're still going over the designs with Artie, our make-believe person that gives us how they do whatever they do. I just made that up. I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't know who Artie. I just said Artie. My girlfriend, Shackley. You know Shackley, right? You know who she is. She's 9 foot 8, and she's 7 and 8. She's tall. She's tall, and she's from Argentina. That's where she's from. She's from Argentina, and from the city of Balsabaji, man.
Winchester, Fieldville.
Wait, did you love it when you catch people lying? Yeah. They be lying. They're like, "Yeah, I was over in the Actor-Reckendender area of Oklahoma." You're like, really? Because I thought you were going to say Adirondack. Adirondack, yeah, that's where it's at. The Adirondacks. I'm like, that's in upstate New York. I know. It was weird. I was. You know what? It's a funny story. I was transported through a portal from Macascuma, whatever I said earlier, Oklahoma, and I ended up in the Anne Arundel area. Had to hitchhike back, and I was picked up by the Mounties. I'm like, that's actually in the United States. I know. And what were the Mounties doing there? This is a weird story, Mr. Turner. You got to pay attention. And don't even try it. I had a couple people do that to me too, okay? I'm going to say this guy's first name because he's tried twice. David, you're so good at trying to lie to me. Okay? Thank goodness there's people in your life that actually messaged me and said, hey, he's a compulsive liar. These people literally did that. And they did it. They said, they won't embarrass you. We don't want you to go up there and say something, but the guy's a compulsive liar. And then he tells me, those people are actually aliens. Thank goodness you couldn't keep your story straight, because it was like, I was like, yeah, he's not fooling me. He couldn't even keep it straight. First he said he was going into a Burger King, then it became Dairy Queen in the same story. So that was something there. I was like, wow. If you could write down, David, if you could write down everything you're lying about, and then you could turn it into fiction, you could make money as a fiction person, though. You could do that because this isn't your thing. This is the fun thing to do, you know? Okay, so I'm going to start off with something here, folks. I'm going to read this to you. And this comes from Aldo. I'm not going to say his last name. Where is Aldo? I have no idea where he's from. But somebody just texted me this. Here's what he says. Okay? He says, the book of magic, which Wolf refuses to mention, is I'm not going to say the name because I don't want you going out. Because there are things in that book, okay? And he's talking about one specific thing in that book. But if you don't know what you're doing, folks, and I'm going to give you this disclaimer, this warning, it is very dangerous, okay? So there's no confusion here, okay? I'm not hiding anything from you. I don't want something to happen to you. The name means the son of knowledge, okay? He says the reason he doesn't want people to know its name is not because of karma or whatever. He's trying to hide the fact that in this book it is revealed that Jesus used a special name of God to resurrect the dead. He says Jews and Muslims have always pointed out that Jesus' ability to perform miracles comes from the knowledge of the names of God. How is him censoring this kind of knowledge different from what churches along space and time have done with the books they took out of the Bible? He's just trying to protect his very personal, incomplete, and biased version of Jesus from being tainted, just like any of us would do with our beliefs. If his view is challenged, he will lose any influence he has over others. Okay, so, and I just read it to you. I read it to you right there. Because, Aldo, that's not correct. Have you read the book? And do you understand what it means? And you need to understand something, folks. The book is not written in English. So you can go around spouting off English all day long. That's not what I'm talking about. It's reading it in its actual language. Right? And I want to protect a narrative over Jesus. I don't need to protect Jesus. When did Jesus need protecting? What's wrong with these people? That sounds so crazy, man. It's like what you said about, they wouldn't like God because he wasn't Christian enough, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I was trying to highlight that. Barry, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. And thank you to Miguel Guerra for donating, for always helping out, No, that's not it, folks. It's not it at all. It's a dangerous book. And the information in there is that it is said that it is guarded by dark elves, and I'm not joking. So if you put that on your computer, there are things in there that you don't understand. And it's above my pay grade, some of it. Just going to be honest, because I don't mess with it. I have read some of it, but I was warned by many people, priests, clerics. It is, let me start off with this. I'll tell you this right now. Why is this thing jumping around? It just jumped to 359. I know that's not correct. Are we going to do that?
Yeah, it's
Is that
just
what we're
YouTube
doing?
being
YouTube?
weird.
Jumping around all over the place? Jump around. Jump around. 200, 360, get down. Like what? Everybody jump. Jump. Whatever. So what ends up happening is if you go and you read that book, go ahead, do what you want to do. Put the digital copy on your computer and see what happens. Okay? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and trying to be responsible. There are other podcasts too. Somebody mentioned it, that there was another show that talked about that book, and they said the same thing I did. They said the same thing I did exactly. That you're not supposed to mess with it. And these are Muslims. The show that they're talking about is an Egyptian guy that talks about, I believe he's Egyptian. Or maybe he's Jordanian. I don't know. I think he's Egyptian though. But anyway, I've only seen his show twice. But anyway, I didn't watch all of that. But I know that they said that they did an episode on it because one of my mutual friends in this field watches that channel to gain information and then goes and looks stuff up or whatever. There you go, LF. Don't know about that one. Did Mysterious Middle East, did they cover that? I don't know if they covered it. They don't really go far in depth. They're pretty short shows, so you could catch those and watch them. And I think they're only like 20, 30 minutes. But there's another show that a guy does, and he talks about Egyptian magic. But he may be Jordanian, but I think he's Egyptian. But he talks about Egypt a lot. And he's more of an Ancient Aliens type guy from the Middle East. But so I'm not trying to keep knowledge from anybody. I'm not trying to stop anybody from learning or anything like that. And he says, I'm trying to protect my view of Jesus or whatever. Jesus doesn't need to be protected any more than the truth needs to be protected. That is not correct. And I wouldn't have just read that right now and said it if I thought that was, I could have just deleted that comment. Why would I need to read it to you? There's another one, Rhonda Stars. Yes, he's a Jewish guy. Rhonda Stars. There's a good channel called Esoterica, I think, covers it. Him too. And actually, he had said something one day Well, somebody using his handle, and I don't know if it was him, but he messaged me on here and to ask me about something. He goes by by Hammer of Saul or Hammer of something, and he said he had a channel, and he said that was his channel. Now, then again, there's people that say, hey, you know what, I'm Jambo Baree so-and-so, but that don't mean you really are. That just people say they are. But he's messaged me a couple times. Yes, Esoterica is very good too. And there's also, I hate to say this, but there are black magic practitioners who watch me too. Now, Brother Heck told me about that. That there's one in particular that watches me religiously, and I don't subscribe to any of that. Leave me alone, I leave you alone. Let's put it that way. But there's people that like my show that come from all religions, all races, all whatever. There are people that watch me in nursing homes, and they get together and they put me on the big screen. That was cool to find out.
Yeah.
There was a couple different ones, and then there are military people that say they watch me on the barracks. Shout out to you. Thank you for your service. Bunches of people watch the show, They may catch it at a different time. They may not catch the live, but they do watch. And so, that's fine. I'm not Indian, of course. The haters, they watch me religiously. I've become your religion, right? It should be God, but you're worried about me. And that's sad. No idolatry. Because you're putting me up on a pedestal and you're committing idolatry. You stop. But yeah, so that's not me trying to hide that. We're trying to keep you from getting into trouble with something that's a little over your head. And so there's people that think that, hey, how about we just go and, because I'm smart enough now, I'm a big boy and I can do this. I don't mess with those books. That was the basis for the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. That was P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft wrote that, based on that book. And there was a guy who even created a cult based on that. A couple different people who've tried to make cults. One was from the 1800s. The story is that he was found skinned alive, and his skin was completely removed, like almost surgically. And it's weird. It's weird, The other guy lived to be like 120 or something. There were two different people who built cults around that thing. Yeah. It's a weird thing, man. I mean, a very weird thing. And there are people who claim to be reincarnated from those high priests of that book. The whole thing is just a bizarre thing. I don't want. That's why I don't want to get into all that because. You already catch enough hell having to deal with, and you want to deal with that. I mean, Sleepy Hal says, according to Indian scripts, and you mean Indian from India, because I know that it's Kalki or Kalik, okay? And I'm assuming you're talking about Krishna Kalik or Kalki will be born in Shambhala, which is the city of the dead too. It's the underworld, but it's not really the city of the dead. It's a transitional place of the purgatorial realm, according to them. And who lives there are actually inner earth beings who live at a different vibration. And then those that have passed over who re-embodied themselves. And that's a hard thing to explain. I'm not going to get into the whole inner earth right now. Well, we are in a minute here, once we get some people here. I don't know if this is real numbers. This thing's not moving up and down. I can't get it to... Oh, I got it. It was locked. It was like I was just sitting there pushing it. So Sleepy Hal brought up a good point. Sleepy Hal, I don't think I've ever seen you here before. He says, just been getting into Irish lore. Irish lore is very interesting. I know a lot about that too. Read about the Fewith. That's a really neat, that's interesting. Inner Earth has a lot of different books you can read about it. I would recommend The Smoky God and Edadorpa to begin, because Edadorpa, literally, his guide was a crawler. I'm not joking. My friend's dad, werewolf, dogman encounter happened after someone gave him the Necronomicon. There was also poltergeist activity. Now, is that the fictional Necronomicon? Which, okay, now it gets convoluted. Okay, now you're going to learn something. There is a Necronomicon that was fictionally written. But it had so many aspects of this other book that even the shadow of it, which is what they call it, is dangerous. There are people who have, and it's funny, we were joking about Oklahoma earlier. There was somebody from Oklahoma, from Stillwater, who had messaged us and said that they had the Necronomicon in their house. And when they brought it into their house, a lot of weird things happened. Now, I said, look, that book is a fiction. It's not a real thing. And they make fun of it on the Army of Darkness, what's his name, Bruce Campbell? Yeah, I said the words. I don't know, cut to, knock to. He's like, did you say the words correctly? Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, basically.
Basically. How do I get home? Like, okay. This is my boomstick. No, so what ends up happening, they literally told me that no, things are really happening. So they sent me a clip of an orb moving around, going around this table and under and all, just going over and everywhere. And it was pretty interesting. If I put it on the Paranormal Roundtable group, they'd be like, oh, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. It's blah, 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 blah. My wife got a really cool one the other day, too, really cool, that Starscream had sent her. And I thought that one was interesting. But there again, if we post it, they're going to start, it starts arguments. And I see it in other groups. I was in a group yesterday morning. And there was just this huge fight. I wasn't involved. I just watched it, but it was a Bigfoot group, and all they were doing was just fighting. Oh, the fights. And they were fighting over ghosts. And somebody made the point. They were like, this is a Bigfoot group. What are you fighting about? And they were fighting about orbs and ghosts, and then Bigfoot just kind of got, get out here. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to fight. And I was just watching this thread, and I was trying to talk to one of the people that had a story in there. Holy crap. Did I just see that correctly?
What?
Somebody just said Crossroads. Where was that at? I was just about to say that.
Someone with the name Twilight at Crossroads, they sent the message, but then they removed it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I was just about to say it was about Robert Johnson and the Crossroads, and this person was arguing about the devil and science and all this other stuff. So we're in the process of hammering out how we're going to do this book, and that just popped up, Twilight at the Crossroads, because I was just about to say that. So somebody got in there and they finally they took the thread down. They said, "Look, this is a Bigfoot group, and we're talking about everything but Bigfoot, blah, 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 And I agree, and I don't even need to go into those groups. Like you said yesterday, Anthony, you were like, why are you still going in all those groups and looking at this stuff? Because you don't need to.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's kind of like I'm used to it. I'm kind of used to it. So that's what I do. There's David Kyleman. What's up, David? He's an OG from the old days, one of the alum from Dogman Encounters. Two Shadows. Thank you for that donation. You're the man. Here's the thing. I don't go in there to fight or argue. But because I'm watching this stuff, and I'm not trying to say I'm some kind of celebrity and come on, I don't want to. But people know who I am, and they know my name. So the minute I say anything, I'm like, "Hi, folks," and they're like, "He's right. He agrees with me." And I'm like, I just see exactly, Josh. Keep preaching, yes. I just said hi. I don't want to even, but yeah, that's right. Keep it. Do it. Slam him. Kill that man. And then that guy's like, "Oh, what's up? What's up, JT? You want a problem? You want to throw down?" I'm like, "Did you read what I said? I don't even know you, sir." "Yeah, what does that mean? You don't know me? You don't know me? You don't know me? This is me. You want some beef? Let's eat. Right here. This is me. Come real with it." I'm like, "What the hell? Oh, you talking about I'm going to hell with your crazy Christianity and stuff? What's up, dog?" Like, okay, look, I just said hi. I'm not even trying to. And they're like, "He's on my side. He agrees with everything I just said. Even burning of witches." No, I really didn't say, "Oh, you don't agree with the burning of witches, you bastard. It says in this book, suffer not a witch to live. What do you want to do? Which witch do you want to live? Huh? Probably just a sandwich because you're fat." And you're like, I don't even know what just happened. This guy admits he doesn't know what's going on. He's a moron. Don't watch his channel. Ban him. I hate you now. Pound, boots on the ground on your face. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go now. "Yeah, you better go. Look, run like a little biznatch." Look, there he is, folks, running like a little business. We ran Josh Turnup out of this group. Yeah, I don't even know what just happened. Admitting that he's got dementia. He makes fun of the sitting president. He's got dementia himself. Guy's just out there. Now roam through the depths of hell where the rest of your whack-ass homeboys dwell. Like, geez, that was uncalled for. Don't try to tell me what to do, you despot. Okay, goodbye. It ain't good. Nothing about you's good, Mr. Turner. You either support me or you go to hell and you die. Yeah, Twilight at the Crossroads, yeah. So it was really jacked up, you know. I'm sitting there going like, what, you know. If I say hi to either side because they're arguing, they immediately say, Josh Turner's on my side. He admits that he likes what I said. He just said that right now. Yeah, and then the other side's like, well, he didn't even say it on here. But he used telepathy. He has powers. He says he astral projects into the realm of the heavens and hell. Never said that. Okay, yeah, but you did say some things. I don't know what you said, but that's simple. We're going to just put it and roll it into a ball. That's what you said. All the things that I agree with, you said. And if the crowd doesn't like you, then all the things you said, I disagree with. So that's it. So yes, we will hear a crazy story. All right, Robin Balzer. Sorry, is that for real? How do you pronounce your name? I don't want to unpronounce it correctly, Robin. So, by the end of the show, if you get a membership, you could be entered into the contest. It's like I said, it's $5. And it helps the show out and things like that and whatever. So here we go. We've got enough people here, but the numbers are jumping around. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I was waiting for it to kind of balance out, but I guess it's going to be one of those days. It's just one of those days. We got contacted by a guy named Avery. That's what he's going to go by. That's what we're going to call him. I'm not telling you whether that's his first or last name or even his real name because this is some heady stuff that he went through. I did not research this before until, like I said, I found Linda Moulton Howe's video because when somebody gives me a story, I don't always know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know everything. I'm not the guru of everybody's whatever. Robin says, I love you, Josh, by the way. Okay, but you're not trolling us with that last name. That's your real last name?
No, he said that's his last name. Okay,
because, I mean, sorry for that, but people do that. They try to, like we thought Mike Hunt was like,
yeah,
you know, and Mike's like, no, that's my real name. So, sorry, but people mess with us. They try to mess with us. And so what ended up happening, salute to you too, Jean-Paul and, and Robin. Okay, cool. That's your name. Just making sure because we gotta watch people. It was my dad's name, not my choice. Okay. So what ended up happening with this guy, Avery, he messages me, and he's just about 3 months ago. This was back in March. I mean, not March, January. What is this? May?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh, it's been longer than 3 months then, right? Is that 3 months ago? I think it was late January. And he said, I had something happen to me in the summer of 2020, or 2019, right before the stuff hit. And he said it was yeah, Mike, there's Mike right there. He said, I'm just a listener. So what ended up happening with this guy was incredible to me. And I don't even know if I can give you everything, whatever. It's a lot to chew on. But he had gone to Alaska. And he was in the Denali National Park. Man, this bright light keeps hitting me like I'm being abducted here. It keeps making my face glow. The Lemurians are here. So what ends up with this guy? He's like, I go with my two friends, my best friend and his girlfriend. And he goes, and the girl that I was kind of dating was his cousin, but she didn't get to make it. She had to work. So he says, we're all there. There were 3 of us. And he's like, and we were hiking through the Denali National Forest. Now, if you don't know this, there is a thing called the Alaskan Triangle. No, the Headless Valley is a different thing, whatever. Let me make sure, because look at Headless Valley is in Canada, but I think it's on the edge of whatever. Just make sure where the Headless Valley is,
Okay.
so I don't tell you wrong, because I just researched that the other day, and I got to focus on what I'm doing. Okay, let Anthony deal with that. So this is a pretty interesting story, and I told Anthony this yesterday. Not all of it, but the Cliff Notes, and what was told to me. And he was very matter of fact. He says, "Look, man, this sounds nuts."
The Headless Valley is not really on the edge of Canada.
Where is it at?
I mean, it's kind of, but it's not. It's not right on the border. It's just north of British Columbia.
North of British Columbia.
So it's in the Northwest Territories.
Yeah, and it is in Canada.
Oh wait, hang on. You know what? It's way up there.
It's way up there. Yeah, I just realized that because that place is very, very densely forested, heavily forested, and barely any people go there. And at one time they were looking for gold, and they can't even get people to go in there because it's so messed up. The Headless Valley is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening with Avery? He says, I go there, and I'm with my friend and his girlfriend, Jennifer, and we'll call his friend Steve. I don't have the right to say his name because he didn't give it to me, and I don't know him. But what happened with this guy, he's like, the first night we were there, and let me give you some information of where it's at. It's about 240 miles, thereabouts, from Anchorage, which is where the Denali National, which is nothing by Alaskan standards.
Mm-hmm.
So you can fit the state of Texas and Alaska comfortably. I mean, it's such a huge place. And so I looked this up. I'm gonna read this to you just to make sure you understand. I mean, this is crazy. This is the statistic here. So I was actually reading the Jerusalem Post. It's just one of many news things that I read. I read things from all sides. It says the Alaskan Triangle, though less famous than the Bermuda Triangle, has become synonymous with mysterious disappearances. In this remote region near Juneau, Alaska, an astonishing number of people, estimated at 20,000 since the 1970s, have vanished. 20,000 people. And it says here, with an annual average disappearance rate of around 2,250 people.
Dang.
It says this sparsely populated area has earned its enigmatic reputation. Geographically, the Alaska Triangle spans between Anchorage and Juneau in the south, and Utiagvik, I'm not even going to try and butcher that, and I'm going to sit here and try to figure it out, formerly Barrow, on the northern coast. So they were in the Denali National Forest. Now, this story gets interesting as we go along. One of the things that happened to them was the first night they were out there in the Denali, and they had hiked, get this, 70 miles. 70 miles.
Wow.
They were dropped off right on the edge of and they hiked through this one area, and they camped for 3 days. And amazingly, they did this over the course of 3 days. According to him, 3.5 days, something like that. 20 miles a day they hiked. And I told him, I said, that's what the Romans did.
Yeah.
But they carried gear and everything else. He says, we're carrying gear too. I said, but then they fought the Gauls, and when they got to where they were going, he goes, we fought the Gauls. I said, yeah, but then they died. And he said, we died too. I'm like, wow, I'm a ghost. He hung up. So what ended up happening, I said, look, that's a lot of miles to hike. And he said, we came across 2 different sets of grizzly bears. They were at a distance. This was in the summer. And everybody told them, hey, there's grizzlies. Be careful. This is, people get chewed up and killed. There's a guy that was found, he disappeared in 1997. They found him in 2022. And he had been killed by what they think was a grizzly, or was it? Something grizzly-like. Chewed him up and crunched his bones. But people see weird things in this area all the time. They see Dogman quite a bit. They see Bigfoot, and they see orbs, and they see UFOs. Constantly, UFOs. And so He said the first night we were out there in Denali, when we reached Denali National Forest, he's like, when we were there, he said, we see this yellow ball of light that we thought was the sun. And this was an orb that came down from the sky in broad daylight, 3 p.m, their time. And it came down, and they thought it was the sun descending, and they were like, and then as it got further down in the sky, they were like, there's 2 suns. No, it was just an orb that came down. Can we dim this? So just dim it. They don't care if I can see my face, because it's blinding me when the light comes on.
Let's see.
Sugi, what is that? He says, I just started watching. There you go. That's good. That's good. It's dark. Whatever. I just started watching a series on Max called Aliens in Alaska. They describe Bigfoot and Dogman and call them aliens. That's weird. So, what the heck? Like a spider web or something got on me. Whatever. Probably one of my wives. Like I'll lay down on the bed and like I'll like wake up and my beard will be in my mouth. Like I'll be like, oh, it was a spider. It was just, she's like, it's your beard. Okay. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe you should trim it. I'm like, no, I could never do that. That would make sense. I don't listen to you. You don't run me. You're not the boss of me. I'm walking out. Goodbye. I got to go to work. She's like, your pants. You might want to put those on. I was like, I know. I was just testing you to see if you noticed that I didn't have pants on. You
got like a little red polka dot satchel attached to a stick thrown over your back, and you're like, I'm never coming back. I'm running away.
This is it. I'm not adulting anymore. You passed the test, Nelly. Congratulations. So what ends up happening with this guy? He says, we see this ball of light. It's like an orangey yellow. It's yellow, then it turns like an orange color, and it's like pulsating. He's like, and it's, maybe 100 yards from us. And it was unbelievable. He's like, and then it just goes, like, and it was gone, And he's like, and so we were stunned. And he's like, that was the second time the first time we had seen the bears. There were 2 of them in a distance, and when they saw that thing descend, they took off. He's like, so maybe it did us a favor. We were kind of unnerved at that point. He said, so we continued to hike. And I told him, being in that forest in a time when the bears were not hibernated is a lot like running around in the ocean. Yeah, you can frolic and play and have a good time, and it's beautiful, but you don't know what's around you. You don't know what's below you. You don't know what's next to you. Good luck. And so he said, yeah, it was unnerving, and we went. Somebody's asking a question, Andrew Valdez. Did I miss you? Because over here it's in green, and over there it's not.
He said, "Hey, Sugar Britches, what's this $5 charge we've talked about to help the show and how to get to it?" So what he's talking about is buying a membership. It's just like a $5 a month thing. It's on YouTube. If you click the little, let me see if I can show you. You see like right there the little dollar sign. Click that; it'll give you an option to become a member, buy a membership.
Yeah, and also on that note, the app for Rumble. Is not good. Okay, I had problems with it today trying to even log in. So what you need to do right now, if you go to Rumble on Saturday to check out all the juicy stuff that we talk about, you're going to have to do, it'd be better to probably use the browser or do what Kramer said he did last night and just do the browser on your phone.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
Yeah, that'll work better that way. So Sue Gee just gifted 5 people. Thank you, Sue. That's nice of you. And now they can be entered into the contest. So what happens here, they see this ball of light, and the bears scatter. And he said, thank goodness. He didn't think they were young-looking bears, but they weren't cubs. And he was like, they weren't mama bear. I asked him. And he said, as they're walking and walking, this is important. It's going to come up later. Later on, about 20 miles in, the next day, they see another bear, but this is a mother with cubs. And she stops and she sees them. And get this, the same thing happens. This bear stops and lifts her. So you know how they stand up and they look to see what you're doing? And she decides that they have an unsavory look about them. Or maybe it is savory. Let's find out. So she decides to run down this hill and come at them, and they're like, oh, crap. And you can't run up a tree. They climb the tree like crazy, like monkeys. It's crazy how they climb trees. So what ends up happening, this other orb comes down around the corner and kind of zips in front of these bears, and they turn immediately and just run the other way. Like they know what that is. It scares the crap out of them, so they leave. They leave you alone. And this orb was greenish yellow. Like it was like swirling, kind of weird. And they were like, what the heck? What is it with these orbs? What is this? And so Jennifer says, hey, it's angel of the Lord. They're protecting us. She's like totally on board with that. And then the guy that he's hanging out with, his best friend, he's an agnostic, which is just a way of copping out and saying, hey, if God's real, I'm going to say, oh, okay, I always knew he was. But if he's not, then I was right and I'm an atheist. That's basically what that is. So Steve, I'll just call him Steve, he decides that he's going to camp out right there where they had just seen that mama. And he's like, I'm too tired. I can't move on. And they're like, we can't stay here. That mama bear was just right there. This is crazy. Then they hear this sound, get this, from their left, which would have been, I think he said, to their south, east. And it sounds like a roar. But the bears don't make that kind of noise.
It would be scary enough if it were a bear.
Yeah, and he said that it was like it wasn't a bear. It was like a roar. He said, looking back now, he thinks it was a Sasquatch. It was a Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot in that forest are supposedly some of the meanest on the planet, and they're huge. Some people have told us that they have seen Bigfoot in Alaska up to 10, 12 feet tall. And we've heard of other parts of the country being like that. But a lot of times they're big and not really aggressive, and they're smaller and they're really aggressive. It's just there's different mixed bag. Around here in Texas, if you ask any of the Texas researchers, and there's a lot of us Texans that are doing this stuff here, researching Dogman, Bigfoot, ghost, and alien abduction, and they'll tell you the Bigfoot here are quite angry and cantankerous, and they're very aggressive. You get a lot of aggressive Bigfoot encounters here. Some of these researchers, these Dumbledore-looking researchers that live up in the Pacific Northwest, they're always like, yeah, I don't know why you guys down in Texas, because you don't live here, you dumbass. You don't know what we get, what kind of reports we get. What makes you an expert? I never said I was an expert, but I know a lot about the Bigfoot in the area. How about that? Why don't you pay attention to what you're doing? Comb your rat nest beard. So what ends up happening with this? They hear this, and then immediately his friend puts his backpack back on and decides to march. And they literally hiked another 5 miles, and they were just exhausted. They couldn't go any further. And then that night, this is the first night something weird happened. He wakes up, and his friend Steve is like, hey. He's pushing him awake. And he wakes up and he opens his eyes and he goes, and I'm not trying to get graphic here or whatever, but he sees something that was obviously male standing over him. And he looks up and he sees it. And he hears, and he looks and he sees legs that were next to him. So there's two different things. And they had a fire going. And these things were not afraid of the fire. He said, I didn't get a good look at a face. All I saw were the legs. He goes, and I dug myself down into the sleeping bag, and they were talking, making talking like grunts, but also talking kind of like, he said it was like real short, like syllable, like that. I can't do like what he couldn't even really describe it the way it was happening. And so he was telling us, that these things were talking. They were communicating. And he goes, and I'm convinced, even though I didn't see the heads of these things, he goes, that they were Bigfoot. He goes, so the next day, he wakes up and he's like, he's gotten his camera out and he's going to take pictures, and there's no footprints.
Wow.
No footprints. Now there's depression in the ground, but there's no footprints.
Well, what shape was the depression?
Like in the shape of like a foot, like, but it would be like if somebody was wearing like some sort of weird,
like a shoe?
like a shoe, like if, and I even said this, I was like what? Like if somebody had like a boot without the heel or whatever, it was just like an old timey medieval rounded, whatever. And I don't think he really understood what I was saying. I don't think I understood what I was saying, but I was trying to figure out like how there were no toe impressions. But he said there were no toe impressions.
They're like flipper feet or something. That's
And
weird.
he thought that was weird, and I thought it was weird. And so he sees these, like no details, exactly, XN. And so he sees these Bigfoot with socks.
Flipper foot.
Yeah, flipper foot, just running around out there in Alaska. And so he tells me, he says, this is a weird thing, and I'm really, really confused. And this guy's actually from Texas. He's originally from Texas. He doesn't live here now, but he's from here. And he moved to this ungodly place, and I'm not even going to say it, because people will get butthurt. But I wouldn't live there. But anyway, he says, I used to live in Texas. He goes, and when I was 6 years old, I had an encounter with a Bigfoot near Bastrop, which is where Joe Breezy, close to where Joe Breezy lives. He lives in Cedar Creek. And they were in the Lost Pines. This is back before the fire. And he was with a Boy Scout crew, whatever. And he said, we saw this. Or no, he's 6 years old with his dad, and he saw it again, like something similar at the same camp, like 4 years later. So he was 10. But he was 6 years old the first time he saw it, and his dad and them were with him. I think he said he was 6, but they were like in Cub Scouts or something. But he saw it twice, 2 times in his life, and he thinks it was the same creature. And I said, how did these things that you saw compare? He goes, I can't really tell you because it was so dark. You could see all the stars, but I couldn't see their faces. The fire wasn't bright enough, but I could see their legs. Hairy, not fur. This was not fur. He goes, if they were bears, I would have been dead. I was like, yeah, you would have been dead. And they didn't do anything except raid his friend's backpack and took his rations, his food, which sucked.
Yeah.
Because they took like half of his food, so then they had to like share their rations. Now they were going to meet an outfitter that told them to meet him at a certain point, which was called the North Point or something like that. I don't remember the whole name, but and they were headed toward Mount Denali. That was their goal. And so they kept marching, kept hiking. And they they're at the halfway point the next day. And he said that at that point, I mean, it's like middle of summer, and it was even up there, it gets hot because you're walking, and you get all that gear and stuff. He goes, and so you're carrying everything on your back and you're getting hot, there's mosquitoes and all this crap. And so he's walking, and I'm assuming, I don't know, I haven't been there, but, I'm assuming, he didn't say mosquitoes, but I'm assuming that's probably, there was. He said there were bugs. And he said that they see this weird movement going through the trees, kind of following them. And it looks like something with hair, long hair, like darting in between the trees. And they're looking, and they're like, what is that? And it looked almost like a female, but it was tall and lanky, real skinny, long arms. And then when they get out away from it, they start walking down, they get to a trail, which is supposed to lead you all the way, Now, it originally was a deer path, and they just started using it. The natives used it at one time. And they hear this shrieking scream come from that side of the trees, and they're like, what in the hell? And at this point, Jennifer starts crying, and she's like, this is not normal, because she wasn't awake for the Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
But she saw the orbs and the bears, and now there's this female, tall, weird, whatever, and whatever you want to call it, wrong turn person running through the woods. And so they're scared, they're terrified. And so then eventually they start running, but then they don't want to run because the further you go into the forest, you can get ambushed by a bear. If you're running, they'll just come naturally and come chase you. And there's wolves. Now, this was on the third night when they did this. They had this incident where they were surrounded by a pack of wolves, and they were in the woods, deep in the woods, and they heard them howling. It wasn't like Into the Gray, or what's that movie with Liam Neeson where they were like, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The Gray
I
or
think
something
so.
like that?
Yeah, the Gray.
Yeah, they weren't like being stalked and attacked, picked off one by wolves. So they built a fire big enough to where the wolves stayed away, and but they heard them around their camp, and it was scary. They're hearing wolves all night long. And I said, are you sure it was wolves? He says, yeah, I'm sure it was wolves. It was wolves. And so then what ended up happening, they end up like breaking camp. They couldn't wait till daybreak, and they were already exhausted from being up all night, scared that these wolves were going to, the wolves had lost interest and had taken off. And so they decided that, okay, the coast is clear. We're good. We're going to, we're okay. And they keep walking. And then they get to where they could see Mount Denali. And at that point, that's when it got really interesting. They had all these other weird things happen to them over the course of, days. And they had been hiking so much that they were going to sit for an entire day in the shadow of the mountain and just wait. And they weren't going to hike up it or anything like that. They just wanted to take pictures, and then they were going to meet this outfitter, and they were going to go down to this river and do all this kind of stuff. And then, and so we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And so the whole day we just slept and ate, and just, we were where we were supposed to be. We made it. We had enough food, and and so we finished off what we had. And we were supposed to be the next day. We were supposed to be there, so we were early. He said we hiked so fast and moved so quick, and just kept pushing. And also, these people, one of them she was a former fitness, whatever. She did those contests where you miss fitness, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And him and his buddy, they were both like real big in shape, guys, big in shape. So that they don't eat junk, He looks like he'd never eaten a frozen burrito in his life. So they were in good shape. And he says, that night we went to sleep. He goes, and I wake up. This is really weird, folks, and pay attention to this part, because this is where it gets really bizarre. He wakes up and he goes to take a leak, okay? Guys, don't care, just go to the edge of the woods, whatever, don't even care. So he turns his back to his friends or whatever, and he hears, oh. And he goes, I recognize it as a bear. And I look, and across my camp, the fire was barely smoldering. But at that point, the light of the moon was shining, and you could see clearly the eyes. It was a bear. It was moving side to side. And he's like, oh, crap. And he was really, really upset. He was like, man. And then he kept thinking this whole time he was walking further and further into these woods. He was like, this is ridiculous. I'm in bear country, and I'm walking through these woods. And he said, at that point, I began to reevaluate all my life decisions. He goes, I was like, should I have done this with my house? Should I have done this and that? And why did I do this and that? And what is it going to matter? Because I'm about to get eaten by a bear. And so he turns around, and this thing began to charge him. He goes, I didn't have time to do anything. They say lay on the ground and play dead, which to me doesn't seem like it works. It just mauls people when they do that. I don't even know where that came from. Now, somebody in the audience is going to say, yeah, that worked. It happened to me, and it worked. Right. Okay? Don't do that, because I'm going to delete your comment because you're lying. All right? You're lying. So he says he just took off running into the woods. Now, this guy, without his pack and everything else, he said, I can run pretty quick. And I have stamina. But bears are extremely large, but they're extremely fast, agile creatures. He's like, and this thing was gaining ground on me. And I just keep running, and I keep running. He's like, and I'm thinking, for sure this thing should have caught me by now. And he goes, and there I see this orb comes down, and it floats in front of me. And like we discussed, about this story yesterday, Anthony, there was like two spheres of it, blue and yellow. And in the middle, it was like the colors kind of bled together and became what it looked like to him, a green in the middle. So you had this green in the middle and this blue and yellow kind of coming together. And it was so bizarre. And he says, I'm looking at it, and it's not moving away, and I still hear this bear, and then I hear it right behind me. He goes, and I turn and I look, which, cost me a little bit of pace, but I had to see how close it was and if I should try to turn or zigzag. Maybe go around one of these big trees. They had these humongous trees, that haven't been cut down since Jesus walked the earth, And so he was like, I'm going to run around one of these big trees and try to just run around it, and make it tired, whatever. Maybe it'll leave me alone. And so he turns around and he looks, and there's not a bear there. There's nothing there. And then he turns, and then next thing you know, he's being pulled into this orb. It's like I told you last night. Like he got pulled into it. And then he goes, I could feel every molecule of my body being absorbed into this ball of light. He's like, and then Madeline says, is the live buffering? Is it buffering for anybody? I don't know. Anybody, is it buffering? It was, yeah. Oh, dang, man. What is...
I think it just depends on people's connection and their device.
It's buffering off and on. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Okay.
I don't know how
Is
to
it still
fix that.
buffering, guys?
It's just YouTube, something on their end.
God, the same thing was happening on the Rumble last night. Like, just
Yeah.
always, every time I start talking, they just start buffering everything. Can't tell people anything. But if I came up here and bored you to death talking about insurance premiums, you'd probably, it wouldn't, be fine. I'm going to give it a second, folks. All right, so it's good now. So he ends up going into this orb. And then from there, he remembers nothing. It was like blackness, and then he woke up. And there was this leaking, dripping sound, and he wakes up, and he's like, I'm in like a cavern, like a cave. He's like, and then I look up, and there, a good 200 or 300 feet in front of me, is this black triangle shaped thing. And he said that I start walking toward it, and I'm drawn to it. He's like, and there was like this walkway that I went across. It was obviously man-made. He's like, and I'm walking across it. He's like, and I get to the edge of this thing, and I realize it's a pyramid. And he doesn't know where he's at or how he got there. He just knows he was running from a bear. And then he turns around and he looks, and he sees this kind of like blurry, silvery looking, what I would describe as a portal. Kind of like what the people from the Temple of Shay, the vampire cult, And this bear-like creature is standing there, and it stands up on its hind legs, and it becomes like this bear man looking thing. That's the only way I could describe it to you, is what he told me. And he goes, there it was. And that's actually what attracted him to my show, was this bear man, because he'd heard me talking about it, and somebody told him, hey, check this guy out. And so the bear man was standing there, and it began to walk towards him. And it was like a 9-foot-tall humanoid. Humongous, huge guy. Like a bodybuilder, 9 foot tall. And the head of this guy, he had something on his head. And the guy just reaches up and takes it off. And he had like hair down to his shoulders. And he looked like a human. And then he had a mask, and he took that off. And he says, and he walked. He was taking different things were falling off of him. And his legs, the hair was coming off of him. And he's like, and he was nude. But he said this guy was covered in like blue markings all over his body. And began to walk towards him. And then he's staring at him, and then he hears this, you were talking about flipper feet earlier, the slapping of feet, and he turns around, and there's these 3 beings. And they're not as big as this bear man, which looked like a Caucasian man with blue markings all over his body. But these things, he said, they were about 6.5 foot tall, but huge, like big. And they had the heads of almost like crocodile. He said, if you take a crocodile and a monitor lizard, because I was trying to wrap my head around what he had seen. He goes, if you took like a crocodile and a monitor lizard, and there were 3 of them, and they all walked up to him, and they were wearing these weird looking breastplate looking things, like what this is what he said. You know, he's 42, so he's probably, you know, he's a few years younger than me. He said his older brother was 46, so he's a couple years younger than me. His brother had He-Man when they were kids, and he would take them, and he's like, I was young, I'd chew on them. You know, because I would chew on their hands. I said, yeah, I did that with so much Star Wars when I was little. I chewed on everything. And he said, you know, this thing is behind me, and then I turn and I look, and there's these three beings, and they're kind of swaying back and forth. And he says that one of them began to try to speak to me, but it was like a guttural, weird, growling like sound. The R was very pronounced, like rah, 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 you know, like that. And I said, I don't know what the heck it's saying. Like I can't. He's like, so I told him I can't understand you. Then this the more human-looking being is behind him. He turns around, and he's like, when I look at his face, he's white, but he has an Asiatic look about him, like almost like he looked native. Like if you took an Asian and a Caucasian and mixed them together, he said, but like I knew he was some kind of ancient native. And so when this thing began to communicate with him, he told him to go into the pyramid. And he asked him, he's like, where am I at? And he's like, you're in our home. And he asked him how long he had been there. He goes, how long was I asleep? And he's like, literally at that moment, he's like, you were asleep. Get this. 8 million years into the past. By your standards. And he was, you know, blown away by that. Thank you for that donation, Rita. Greatly appreciated. But he said he was in the past, and he's like, how is that possible? He goes, it's not. That's all he said. He didn't give him a long explanation like, oh, let me give you some native wisdom. This guy wasn't giving him shit. He was just basically telling him, excuse my language. But he was just like, it's not. Yeah, I have boxes, Doctor Who level. I've never seen Doctor Who, but if that's what they talk about, then yeah. And I'll say this, because a lot of this stuff that they show on these shows is just soft disclosure. We talked about that last night on Rumble. If you're just joining us, like I said, 8.5 thousand views. We had 700 people in the chat, and then for the most of the show, we had 600 and something. You know, last night on our premiere on Rumble, or for the live stream. The live stream has never been on Rumble. Or our live stream has never been on Rumble. And then so yeah, we did really good. Go check it out. But this story I was going to tell on the podcast, and if I do retell this on the podcast, we another thing we thought about doing to release it to the other platforms, the other 15 platforms. You don't have to listen to it if you've heard it on the YouTube. And I think this guy's probably going to tell his story to maybe be on TV. I don't know yet. I'm just going to. Right when I say that, David Buckhold says back when there are only 3 channels on TV. That's weird. Like we're synchronicities and stuff. This story gave me a nightmare. Okay. Like I literally had a nightmare. Okay. Now I had this dream, but it was very brief and it was weird. And it was like I was traveling through space or something, but it was like, you know how you see on like Star Wars or Star Trek when they go into warp speed, they all have that same look.
Yeah.
But it was like I was traveling through that and I could see things on either side of me, and they looked like vultures or so. I don't know how to describe it. And then I ended up in this room, and there were these there wasn't one big pyramid. There were like little ones or something. It was weird. And then I woke up, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell? What the hell was that?" It was very brief. At least I think it was, because sometimes you'll wake up during the tail end of something and you don't remember but that, because your brain is not keeping the memory. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So. It's really bizarre what happened to this guy. They tell him that they are literally from 8 million. This is 8 million years into the past of where your timeline is. 8 million years. That would have been beyond like all the yugas. This would have been in another set of yugas. And that pyramid was there. And they all just kind of went at the 3 lizard dudes just with big long tails, and they weren't aggressive or angry. He didn't get a feeling of like hatred from any of them. They were just like, you're here. And they told him to go and touch the pyramid so that he could go back home. But he said, very specific at this point, he says, look, you touch it too long and you'll become a part of it and you'll be stuck. Moving in and out of places that you'll never know where you're at and you'll never leave. He's like, so you have to focus what you have. Focus. Basically, in another way, saying meditate and just put your hand on the pyramid and you'll go back to your time. And he's like, what's the purpose? And then this being basically told him, he's like, you'll find out. Now, I will say this. Avery's a Nordic-looking person. And as he walked toward the pyramid, he looks up, and there's this railing up there. And there were these two what looked like giant people. And that's when he saw them. He looks back, and they were signaling each other. The guy behind him, the big, tall, white, Asian, Indian-looking dude, whatever, was signaling them. And they kind of made a signal back, and then they walked away from the platform, and they disappeared from view. And he was like, what the heck? So then he walks over to this pyramid, and he puts his hands on it, and he says it was weird. You would think it was solid stone, but the stone was kind of smushy. It was bizarre. He goes, so I put it on, and I could feel like this pulsing. And I said, what do you mean pulsing? It was like it was breathing. Like it was a living being, like a living entity. And he goes, and then I tried to do what he told me to do. He goes, but I wasn't really succeeding. And I was like, so I started to close my eyes. I started to focus, and I kind of meditated. And then I felt this wetness on my hand, and I opened my eyes, and get this. He's like, I look, and there's this black stuff coming off of the pyramid from between the different bricks. He said the bricks were about 6.5 to 7 inches long. And I say that because he says, and I'm telling you, I don't know why I knew to ask this, but I said, were they, how long were they? And he said they were over 6 inches. I said, would you say about 6.5 to 7 inches? I don't know why I said that. And he said, yeah. And I said, interesting. And then, I really said this to him. And I said, would you say 3 to 4 inches, wide? And he said, yeah. I don't know why I said that. I don't even know why I knew that. That was interesting to me. But anyway, so he says, I touch this, and there's this black substance that comes off of it. He goes, and it begins to envelop my hand. And he goes, and then I'm looking at it, and at first I'm just kind of ambivalent toward it, that's my words. And then he says, but then I'm like, I start pulling my hand back, So he's like, I'm pulling my hand back, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? He goes, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, hey, help. And the next thing you know, there's this substance pulling my other hand, and I'm like stuck to this pyramid, and there's other beings there. There was this like wispy looking ghost like entity thing that kind of just went right by me and ignored me, and no one in this the big tall native looking dude was gone. The two blonde haired people were gone. He's like, the reptilian things, there's nobody there now but me in this pyramid. He goes, and then I realize, he's like, I am stuck. I am literally stuck like Chuck. That's my words, to this pyramid. He's like, and then the next thing you know, my face is going into the pyramid. He goes, and then he's like, I'm unconscious again. And then I wake up. And he goes, I don't know how long it is. And I look around, and there's like these octagonal shapes all around me, like a honeycomb type shape. Yeah. And they're mirrored. It's a mirror. And I'm looking around. He goes, and there's mirrors everywhere. And then I wake up, and there's like sand. There's sand all around the ground is just sand. And the weird thing it was not just weird, but creepy and terrifying was that there was this weird thing crumpled up in the corner of this pyramid that looked like a giant scorpion, like it was asleep or something. Mm-hmm. And he said it was probably the size of a large dog. And it had a tail like a stinger and everything. And he was like he walked toward it, and he was like, oh man, what is that? So he goes, so I think it might have been dead or something. He goes, I didn't touch it. I didn't mess with it. And I look around, I'm looking for an exit, and there's nothing all the way around. I'm just in there. It's just me and this, and then there's this like really like a quartz crystal thing in the middle with this small black pyramid. He goes, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, I'm stuck in some sort of weird cavern or whatever. And so he hears a voice, and it's like an inner monologue voice. And he says his dad had died of cancer years ago, and he said his inner monologue was always his dad. He goes, but this sounded, and get this, I thought this was interesting. He said it sounded like Orson Welles. He's like, that's the best way I could describe it. He didn't say that, I did, because he started doing the voice, and I said, what about Orson Welles? Is that what that was? And he goes, I don't know. I don't really know how he sounds or whatever. And so I played a clip of Orson Welles, and while we were talking, we were FaceTiming or whatever, and I said, what do you think of that? That's kind of what he said. Yeah, that's what it sounded like, kind of like that. So I'll do Orson Welles a little bit. And the clip I played was when he was Unicron.
Yeah.
The Transformers cartoon.
Yeah.
And he's like,
iconic. What
does he say to him when Megatron is like, and he goes, and nothing.
Yeah.
When he says that, bring me the Matrix. Pretty good impression, right?
Yeah.
Because I did Vader too, and I was like, you do not know the power of the pyramid. And not that one. He was like, no, bring me the Matrix. Like that. I am Unicron. All right? So, creepy, scary stuff, and he hears this voice, and I'm going to do the voice, and I'm going to say what it said to him, and it said, come forward. In English. And he goes, that's the first thing I thought. I thought, you speak English? And it says, yes. And he was like, where am I? What time am I? And at this point, the thing said, there is no time. There's only now. And then it told him, walk toward the pyramid. Put your hands on the pyramid. It says YouTube is glitching and buffering to high hell. Gosh, dang it. That sucks. Of course. Yeah, Robin. Yeah, it is a crazy story I was told too. But this isn't the craziest one I've ever heard. I've heard a lot of them. And it's all on how you retell it too. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but it takes, you have to be, I don't know, what do we do about this buffering?
I mean, we can't do anything. We just have to keep going.
Some people say it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's too many factors that go into figuring that out, and none of which we have control, so we each have to go on.
So when he goes up to this pyramid and he puts his hands on it, and then the voice tells him, you will begin your journey. And he's like, journey to what? And then at this point, the voice, which had no emotion, had some sort of emotion that seemed almost like bordering on anger. And it told him, you ask too much. Just be and do. And he asked, who are you? And literally this thing told him, this voice, it said, I am your past, your future, and your present. That was it. How long had this pyramid been there? How long? And I was not, before this story was thrown on my desk, I was not really hyper aware of the Black Pyramid. I think I had heard about it or something. Seen people in chats that said things. Had not done a lot of research on this. So that was actually a good thing when he started talking to me about this, because I didn't have a preconceived notion, which is cool when you're able to interview someone and get the information from them, and you don't have a preconceived idea of what they're supposed to be saying and doing, which is why another reason why you have to take the lens off of everything you know. You have to take the religious lens off. You have to take everything off. And you have to just listen and be a part of it, because so many people, they're like, yeah, I want to approach this from the scientific slant. I want to approach this from an Islamic slant. I want to approach this from a Christian slant. I want to approach this from a whatever slant. And then that's what happens. Everything is slanted that way. And if you use a political slant, then everything's going to be slanted that way. If you're an atheist, you tend to go too far and ignoring the idea of God. And then if you're a Christian or a Muslim, you go too far into everything. So you have to kind of take everything away. I don't ever break a connection with God, believe me. Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to listen to somebody's story, you know, and your mind has to be unmolested. So this was good. And I was listening to him and I was like, okay. And I was kind of putting myself into his position, like, where am I with this? You know, like, at one point I just closed my eyes and was listening, and I was like thinking, and it almost got too real. And it was weird because, you know, the animals are always right there by the door trying to get into my study. They were not trying to get into at all.
Yeah, that's unusual for them.
Yeah, people are going to be, the buffering is just, as the stream is clocking continuously. Anyone else, it's saying, yeah. I don't know what to do, folks. I'm sorry this is happening. I don't know what to do. And Jim Bob says, I'm out. Now I'm buffering. Let's just kill the stream, dude. There's really nothing we can do.
It's too bad.
Thanks, YouTube.
I don't know why they...
Fuck chops. Yep, they said they went back in. It's not helping. It says, Bernard says, have them check their display.
What the hell? This is annoying.
It says YouTube is not receiving enough information to keep streaming. What? But you have enough information to keep taking our subs away, don't you? Maybe we should go to Rumble and do it. It's saying the stream is healthy.
So it said it was healthy, and then it said that it wasn't, and then now it's saying that it is. I mean, if nothing else, the recording won't be all messed up. Like whenever they go back and watch it, it's not going to buffer.
So throw Twilight at the Crossroads a wrench.
No, I did.
Okay. Because they told me who they were, so I know them. Yes, Brother Heck, you are. You're missing it all. But, you know, Tube of You has decided to be a... whatever.
A lot of people are saying there's some solar flares.
Oh, that's right. Okay. And weird, now we're talking about this pyramid. Maybe we can finish this story. We can record it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't like us talking about a lot of things. I feel like I've been under spiritual attack, and I mean, there's things happening to my body that are just, I don't know, man. Pray for me, folks. Please pray, because I am doing things and saying things that other people aren't, and I think there's a reason why I'm being given these stories. I'm not going to say me, it's not all us, but why PRT, the PRT family is getting this information from various people from around the world. There's a reason for this. It's happening. And I'm not making up this joking. I'm not joking with you. I'm not pulling your leg. I believe that there's a reason why we are getting this information, because someone that can talk can relay the information. So let's move on. Let's keep trying. Yeah, Miguel Guetta. Yeah, you're right. I think, folks, this should be an opportunity for y'all to all donate to the Helping Josh Turner Fund. Like I said, I do need a Maserati to run around and do my little patrols. The car I'm driving in is a little small, and you don't want me to go dying now, do you? You want me to be, and if I do die, I need to be in a comfortable vehicle. Don't you want that from me? Come on now. Just a little bit of your hard-earned money, just throwing it out there. That's all I'm saying. Just, whatever you can donate, 50 and up, whatever. That'll keep the stream going too, I believe. If we reached $1,000, that stream would be perfect. I bet you anything. I bet you anything. The people, they're always like, I was talking to the Lord the other day.
Yeah, like they have a direct line.
Yeah. You just called them up, hey, Lord, and
Yeah.
give me a break.
Just had casual conversations about the weather.
Tammy Faye Baker, I was talking to the Lord. And I'm like, God is not going to. If God had human characteristics, which he doesn't, he would have better taste than talk to you, lady. She talked to God like he was, she's like, I'm married to the church. Some of the weirdest things they come up with, dude. Like, they just say the most weirdest things. And you're like, what in the heck is wrong with these people? God doesn't even pay attention to you, okay? I can't speak for God, but trust me, okay? They're over there taking money from people and doing all these, and then talking about the Lord all the time. Thank you, Joe Proper. Appreciate it. Miguel Guetta, if you donate your soul, $5.99 for shipping, then you will receive a recorded telephone call from God himself. Yeah, my word. Line $500 might make you cry, then get slightly offended when the person meant to give $50. Yeah, exactly. What old greaseball up there in Oklahoma did to that scumbag. Oh, it's terrible. No, folks, we're not asking for money. If you feel like donating. If not, don't. We have the PayPal link though up there, so if they want to, they can do that instead. Because, it helps the show, but we're not trying to. And I'm not putting things behind a paywall. We won't do that. That's why we wanted to do something for the members, which is the giveaway. Because we don't do anything for the members. Yeah. Thank you, Jim Bob and Bullshizzle. It's just we want to do something for them for being members. And so that's where the giveaway on Sunday comes in. But we were going to do giveaways on Friday. This coming Friday, we're going to do a giveaway all month of May, right, this month, because we reached 35,000, and April was our anniversary, a 5-year anniversary. So we just kind of rolled it into one, and we said, you know what? In May, we're just going to give away a lot of stuff. The Patreon people stuff was mailed out yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And then the winners, you will go out on Monday along with everybody else who won. Get new people that just come in and put your finger like this. Put your knuckle into your nose. But like I was saying, but you got to figure out a way to make the finger come down. I don't know how to do that. And I ain't sticking my finger up my nose, man. They need to come up with an invention called the nose picker. It has like a little camera on there where you can see and you can go up into your nose and surgically remove all of the debris that doesn't need to be there. Because just blowing it all the time doesn't always help, Talking about nothing here because we're trying to wait for the stream to make sure that it's going to be okay. It's like we got to be nice to it. Don't taunt the stream. Be nice. Be nice to the stream.
Sometimes you have to give them candy.
A little finger on a stick. They call me Little Finger for a reason. He takes a little stick with a finger. Now, what were you saying, Mother of Dragons? Good night, everyone. Not feeling well, going to bed. Sorry, Crystal. You be safe. This is a veritable boogie removal device. Exactly. I like that word. A veritable boogie remover device. We remove boogies is what we do. Or as I like to call them, magic nose goblins. Everything is a world unto itself, and my nose is no different. My nose is there. The magic nose goblins roam it. Phonies are selling my copyrights for $60,000 online. What is that? Metallithic? A black and pink PRT tank top for summer. We don't have any of those, do we?
I don't think so,
All
but I'm
kinds
pretty
of
sure I
stuff.
can add some.
You can add some
tank
summer
tops and
stuff to the
Yeah.
to the store. If you guys are willing to buy it, you want to buy it, we'll take the trouble of putting it in there. James Aletto. Good night, folks. Have a great week. All right, good night. So, anyways, back to the story. So, what ends up happening? This is everybody seems to be doing better. Is everybody's stream? Give me some yeses if your stream is better. Rubber finger on a drill bit. Oh, that could get carried away, Maynard. I don't know about all that. That might be a problem. Okay, so we're back. We're back in business. We're back and running here. So he puts his hands on the pyramid, and he says, "I feel this burning in my head." And he goes, "There was so much pressure in my head." And he's like, "And I literally came out of my body." He says, "I was backwards, I was thrown backwards out of my body, and I could see my body standing there." Holding this little baby pyramid. This is his words. He said, like a little baby version of what he was, whatever. Then he realizes, he's like, he starts to come, he goes in and out of his body, and then he goes into the smaller pyramid, and get this, as he goes into that pyramid, he wakes up inside the big pyramid again.
What?
Yeah, or outside of the big pyramid. The pyramid's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets up and he kind of staggers around and he walks towards the portal. But the portal was not a silvery looking portal. It was like blue. And you could see that there was like water. And so what was weird, he walked into that portal and he immediately was in like water all the way up to his, chest. And he goes, and the water was pretty clear. And it was like waves kind of pushing you back. And I turn and I look. And there's like the shore. He goes, and then I kind of like look in the water and I see these weird things swimming around in there, and they were reptilian looking, like reptiles. And he's like, and I'm looking and I'm going like, I'm no scientist, but this looks prehistoric. And he goes, so I started wading out of the water to try to get out of it. And one of them rubbed up against me, and I could feel how rough it was. He said, and they were about the size, maybe, a little bigger than a Komodo dragon, but there was like, and he saw one of them's face as it came up out of the surface, and they were kind of observing me. And he goes, and I could see them. They were eating fish and stuff like that, but then they started all looking at me, and he goes, and I need to get the hell out of here because this is, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what the time is. I don't know what time this is. He gets to the shore, and these things come crawling up out of the water, and they move really quick. And they were kind of like long-legged alligator-looking creatures, but with smoother heads. And they kind of like looked at him, but they didn't harass him. And then they turned and they went back into the water. And he thought, that was close. I probably shouldn't be. And then he sees this silvery door off to his right. He goes up this little hill. There's just sand, and he's walking up, and he's like, man, I got to get back to where my camp, whatever. What is this, And so he walks through that one particular door. Thank you for that donation. He says, checking in. Love your platform, Josh. Hope all is well. I'm glad you're holding it down and keeping it real. Venture Security. Yay, Venture Security. Thank you for that donation. Greatly, greatly appreciated, sir. And so he walks through this pyramid, and Avery says, he's like, I turn and I look back. He's like, and then I see, like, there's like a ridge and a hill, and there's all these weird, whatever. And in the distance, I see a pyramid. But it's not a black one. It's like a beige-looking thing. And I'm like, what is that? And he just turns and he just goes through the. So then when he goes through that door, he's outside of the pyramid, of this big black pyramid, right? And get this. He's like, everything that was in that little room or whatever with the octagonal whatever, he's like, I'm looking and I'm seeing like the outside, and there is this big quartz tower, and on top of it is this gigantic pyramid. It's unbelievable. And he's like, and I see sand all around me like a desert. And I'm like, where in the hell am I at? And so everything that he saw inside of that pyramid, and then he looks around, and all the way around him, in every direction, were these honeycomb, like what's his name told us, Emilio told us, that those weird honeycomb things, and there's also what Brent told us too, that they saw them all the way around. And he goes, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, he says, everywhere I look, Wolf, he goes, I see this honeycomb pattern, and it's like this, they're mirrors. It's like a mirror. He's like, and then so he goes, I don't know what made me do it, but he goes, I was like, I reached down to touch the sand with my hands and just maybe, to make sure that I wasn't just having, a dream. This is real. I'm touching it. I know my feet were touching it. He's like, but it was real. And then I clapped my hands to get the sand off, and it echoed. It was like a vibration. Everything was like a vibration. And he's like, and then I realized where I was like giant, and I was inside of this same enclosure. He's like, and now I see the size and enormity of this black pyramid. And so he's like, and there's like all this sand everywhere around. He's like, but this is not, it goes on and on. He goes, I go past the pyramid because I can't go up and look at it. I can't touch it or anything. He's like, and I just keep walking, and I walk, and there's just sand, and then it turns into like grass, or slowly starts to turn into dirt and then grass. He's like, and then I go up to the top of this hill, and I look down, and there's this valley. Crazy valley. And it's beautiful. He goes, and you can see these, like what he thought looked like a herd of like a type of dinosaur. He goes, but I can't tell you what they were because I don't know a lot about paleontology or whatever. But he said, he gave me a description, and I couldn't come up with anything. I was looking through different stuff, trying to maybe figure out what it was. And so, yeah, it sounds like a dream, Jim, but it wasn't a dream. He's like, it was absolutely real, but weird stuff went on and on. This stuff, he told me a whole lot of stuff. So he turns around, and he's like, he's trying to figure out a way out of this, to get out of this, whatever. And he sees at the base of that pyramid, this big giant quartz, like he called it a quartz tree. Didn't have branches, but it looked like it was like once it might have been a tree, and it became quartz. And he says, and I walk up to it. And he's like, and I see this door at the bottom of it, but it's partially covered with the sand. And so I walk over to it. He goes, and then I have to get down on my hands and knees because there's only this much of it, because I can tell part of it's been covered by the sand. So I start digging and digging and digging because I just automatically, I knew that I needed to go through that door. And eventually the door, it opened. Like, it didn't go like raise up. It just kind of went like it was just, there was darkness. And he knew to go into it. And so he crawled into it, and he fell a few feet, and then he was like kind of floated up, like he was blown up, into the air. And he's like, and then I'm back inside, and I'm inside this pyramid. He's like, and now I realize that I'm actually inside the pyramid, not like it was before where I was, because before I went through the pyramid, but I was like actually like looking at what seemed like a model of the pyramid. Mm-hmm. And he thinks this is what he thinks, and this is what I keep, because I told him this is what I think. Okay? And happy Mother's Day to everybody. I forgot to say that. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to Paranormal Soundtable and to our channel on Rumble. Please go to Rumble and subscribe when the show is over. Please do us that favor. We don't even have 1,000 subscribers, and we got like 8,000, 9,000 views last night with not even 1,000 subscribers. So that's weird. So if you could please just subscribe, that would help. And then Paranormal Soundtable, our record label, please go and subscribe to Paranormal Soundtable. We need some subscribers on there, please. So anyway, he goes and he walks through this pyramid, and he's inside of it. At this point, he goes, now I'm really actually inside of it. And the way to get inside of it is from underneath it. And he goes, you would have to go back millions of years. This is what I think. And he agreed with me, and he said, yeah, I think that's true. You would have to go back millions of years to find where this pyramid was laid out by these ancient beings. And it's just incredible. So he says, I'm inside of it. He goes, and it's just huge space, and you can see on every corner of this thing. He's like, I knew I wasn't inside the pyramid before because it was like octagonal. And there was little smaller octagonal shapes all the way around. It wasn't shaped like a pyramid. On the inside of this thing, he goes, There was like, once I went to certain parts of the corners of this building, which looked like a defunct spaceship. He's like, but you could see the walls. He goes, and then he's like, there inside of this, whatever, were these, this is weird, like these sarcophaguses, but you could see them. You know how they always show in like the sci-fi movies where they have like the window, you can go look at the beings that are laying there?
Oh, yeah.
There's like these beings that are laying there in stasis, and they have like tentacles. He's like, and they have like octopus-looking heads. He's like, and I'm looking at them or whatever, and then there's this other being that comes out, and once again with the mask, and it takes it off and it throws him over its shoulder, and it's kind of like it's having trouble breathing, and he's this tall, like, it looks like the bear-looking thing that I had seen earlier, but it's one of those guys. And he's like, what are you doing here? Immediately asked him that, and he pulled out this weird quartz-looking knife hook thing and was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm lost. I got chased by something. I don't know, someone, and I ended up in this orb. And then he says, okay. And he sits down like on this bench, this black bench, and he tells him to pull up a chair. And there is this weird kind of like chair that, and when he goes to sit, it moves, and he sits down. It was like technology. Mm-hmm. And he says, we are the keepers of the way. And he's like, okay, well, right now I need to find my way. And he's like, and the guy didn't laugh. There was no humor. And he's like, you wouldn't be here if you weren't supposed to be here. How did you get here? So he told him the whole story, and he says, yes. And he's like, and then he told him the timeline, and he says, this is 10 million from your time. And then he said, before that were 4 more million years when this was done. And he asked him about the beings here or whatever, and he says that they're asleep. And no one knows if or when they will ever wake up or what, and we don't want to mess with them because they could be, this is basically, he told him very frankly, like, look, I'm not even aware of exactly what they are. We just know that the pyramid has a power, and it has sustained life in this area for a long time. And he said everything that grew around this area was because of this pyramid. He goes, it was here when my people got here. They don't know where it's from. They don't really even know what it is. And there are other species and beings or whatever that were coming and going through portals that transcended space and time to understand and study this thing. What was crazy about this whole experience, though, is that he says that this knowledge is not for you. You are a human. You were not supposed to be here. We got to get you home. And then this is all a dream. Tells him that. Tells him that. And then when he walks outside with this being takes him outside, and he has this thing on his wrist where he kind of like communicates, and then there's this like, he just says this 2 syllables like uncha, whatever, like this weird, and this it's like a vibration. He sees this little ripple. And then there's like this sort of slow portal looking thing, and 2 more of these guys like him come out. In the middle, there was this Nordic-looking dude. And they come out, and they're with the masks again. For some reason, they have these masks. And one of them wouldn't take the mask off. And the other 2 seemed like they were trying to breathe, but it was a struggle. And he was breathing fine. And he goes, they towered over me. The biggest was probably 9-10 feet. And so then he says, Wolf, what was so scary, but they were very polite and nice. They weren't, and then one guy was carrying that quartz, like, gut ripper, that's what I call it. And he says, it was bizarre. And then he said, as fantastical as the story is, he goes, this is a completely true account of what happened to me. He's like, I am not making this up. This is the true, what I'm telling you. Possibly Glades creature, yeah, if people that understand what that is. And he says, they were talking, and one of these beings came forward, and this 10 million years, and they said there was 12 million, right, when this thing hit, when it landed. And this was part ocean, and around it was sort of a desert, but this thing created life, like a forest grew from it. And he said, if you go further back, they started to talk to him about it, and he's like, we're studying it. And one of these beings that they were talking about, they went back into the pyramid and they said, well, you're here. And they told him, and this is very reminiscent of Christopher Gaetano's with the God helmet, after what happened to him after this. And he says, well, you're here and you're not supposed to be. And then they said that you were chased by something. And one of our people intervened. So it was an accident. You got pulled into the orb. You weren't supposed to be. And this is what he said. He says, you are a descendant. And the dude literally had a glove on his hand. And he said he had this rough glove, and he touched his hair at his head. And he says, you're one of our descendants. Literally, the blonde-haired guy told him that. And he goes, and I'm looking at him through the mask, or through the, he couldn't see this part, but he goes, it was black. But he saw his eyes, and there was blue eyes, blonde hair. And then the two native-looking guys were next to him. And they were all working together. And he asked about the lizard creatures, and he says, they're a primitive form of a future species. Bizarre. He's like, at one time, they were benign, and get this. And this clicked in my head, and it made a lot of sense what he was telling me. And this is a guy that was not into any of this crap. He had seen Bigfoot twice as a kid. At least he thinks he saw it twice. He's for sure he saw it once. That was it. There was no ghosts, no UFOs. He did see a UFO when he was like 27. So there's that. I got that from him. But it didn't abduct him or anything. It was just there. And it was near Maynard, Texas. And we've talked about Maynard before. It's home of the Goat Man, Will Barger Bridge. Loki and Chief have talked about it on the show. So anyway, this is what happened. He said that this guy starts talking to him and telling him, and he's like, he speaks English perfectly, and then he would talk in another language, and then talk another language and another language, and he was like talking to those two guys next to him who spoke differently, and then he just spoke, and it was like this dude could speak like a million languages. It was like he could just talk anything. And he goes, me personally, I can speak 3 languages. He said he spoke French and Spanish, and this guy spoke to him in French and Spanish, and he knew that he spoke it. And he's like, I can read your mind. Like, I can tell anything I can read your thoughts. And so they told him that everybody was drawn to this particular craft. It was a craft. It was a spacecraft, sort of and it was like a like it was alive. Like it was a biological entity. And it takes root like a tree. And this quartz is its base, and it grows out of it. And then he compared it to a type of interdimensional fruit, which was it just blows your mind. You're sitting there going like, what is this? Yeah. This is insane. And the voice, where it was like, I am what is and what will be, and whatever. The Orson Welles. And he's like, ask it a question. It'll talk to you. It hears everything we say. And when it asks, he says, where did you come from? This thing is kind of like breathing. You could hear it kind of breathe. And they did not know if it was a type of hyper artificial intelligence that was created. But then this thing knew immediately what it was saying. And it says artificial intelligence, everything is artificially intelligent. Everything was created. This created this, this created this, this created this, this created this. And the creation goes on and on and on and on and on. There is no beginning and there is no end. It's a time loop. And what they try to do is make you believe that time is this linear thing, right? This is what I think. This is me talking. And thank you, Venture. Thank you for that. Signing out, just dropped in to say hello and support. Join the rest of the program. This one certainly takes the imagination to the limits, no doubt. Cheers, Josh. Yeah, and please check it out later on and listen to the whole. It's hard to follow because it was hard to follow for me. That's why I had to spend 3 hours today trying to flesh it out and make sure that I got it all. I didn't get to sleep until, noon. So what ends up happening is this guy. Work. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it. It's new guy. So what ends up happening? This guy, he goes, I could not believe what was being, shown to me and told to me. He says, so I go over to this quartz. It's in the middle of this pyramid, in the middle of where we're at. And I touch it even without even being told. And these beings didn't try to stop me. He goes, and I felt like I was being downloaded 1 billion gigabytes of information was just flowing into my brain. And I was like, kind of felt like I was being electrocuted. It was painful until one of these beings grabbed him and pulled him off of it. And he said there was like this blue light that came off of it. And he said that it definitely gave him a lot of perspective and information. And ever since that day, when he got back home to that god-awful place he lives, I'll just say it, San Francisco. It is a horrible place. Do not go there. It's a hive of scum and villainy. I'll take swords, Alex. That is S words. So what happens is he's like, I come off of this, and I literally have vivid recurring dreams about all kinds of weird places. He goes, I go to sleep and it's like I got to find my way back every night. It's like I'm scared. He goes, I think I'm not going to wake up. He's like, the only thing that gets me up is really loud noise. And he goes, and I'm having a hard time focusing. Poop Sisk. Woo. Going hard in the paint on San Fran there, man. I'm telling you. But, they deserve it. So he's like, I'm trapped in this like loop of information that I never should have touched that thing. And they told me, yeah, be ready. Because now you're going to get hit, and every time you go to sleep, you're going to be roaming around and going into places. And they said, wherever you're at, this is what they told him, look toward the east and move in that direction and you'll find your way. Now, one of the things this guy told me too was his friend Daniel had told him multiple times that he had been to a place that he called the dark world. So I'm going to interview him. And his nickname is DG. So DG, I'm coming for you. I'm going to get your story. We're going to talk about the dark world because it's amazing stuff. He's been talking to his friend. His friend kept talking about the dark world, and now he's interested in what happened to him. And I think that if your mind is opened up to a certain level, then you can comprehend all of this. But then again, it's hard. Because I, with my own little human brain, and get this, the minute I went to sleep today, I started dreaming weird stuff. I don't remember it all, but I just know that it was really like it was out there, man. I was like, what the hell am I dreaming here? What is this? So just talking to this guy, just talking to him got all this, I was like sitting there going, like, what is this? This is weird.
Sure.
And I couldn't go to sleep. We're getting harassed and attacked by this maniac woman. And then, I'm over there like, I just want to go to bed, dude. And then when I finally did, it was like I was dreaming all this weird stuff, weird, wild stuff. The reptilian humanoids, he was told, are the predecessor of a future species, which is what would be 12 or 10 million years back into the power. That was 8 million, right? That was 8 million years back in the past. They became something. I don't know. So I didn't get that part. But the crazy thing is that this guy, Avery, he's had multiple dreams scenarios since this incident, and he has recommunicated with these beings multiple times. Mark Beazle. Yeah, I'll try not to, Mark. I'm trying, And maybe, Amy, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah, Amy says he transferred information to you. Well, yeah, I don't know, maybe. But it happened to his wife. He got married last year, and once he told her about this story, she started having weird dreams. I hope it doesn't affect my audience. Everybody starts having weird dreams. Yeah. Peace Frog, yeah, there are studies of that. It does both. It depends on which one, because, there's indica, and then there's sativa, and then there's various strands of each one. They're talking about marijuana. But this is not a marijuana dream. I don't believe that. He doesn't smoke, and he doesn't even drink. So it's really wild what happened to this guy. And so he says, look, you know, I'm like, literally, I wake up and I'm like running in place. I'm like, and I'm not moving. I'm just running, and I'm right there by my camp. Because he went to sleep right after while these people were talking to him, and they said, it's okay, you'll go to sleep. And when he woke up, he was running in place, and his friends were like, whoa. And it was 5 a.m, and they were like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And they don't know if he had been laying there asleep dreaming next to him, because they were in a deep sleep. They were tired, very exhausted. And so he was like, did that really happen, or was that all just a dream? Interesting thing, too, is he had never studied the Black Pyramid of Denali. And neither had I. So when he, and Anthony knows this, and look, I'm not going to try to be crass or rude or whatever, but there's people every time they're like, read my story. It's absolutely true. I get the emails all the time. And then they'll tell me, this story is a mind-blowing adventure story. It's crazy. This happened to me. And it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's super duper incredible. And it happened to me. So it's the most important story that ever existed because it happened to me. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Everybody. And now my email is every Rumble comment is now I'm going to my email. It's totally cluttering the email. Yeah, that email is really cluttered up with that. So I was trying to give you an example and get with someone who's willing to let their email be shown or whatever. Don't really want to take a chance on that because I don't know if these people would be okay with that. Just to give you an example. So this happens like every day. Every day. I don't even need to go into those crazy groups anymore if I don't want to. That's what Anthony was trying to lecture me about yesterday, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
You were like, you don't need to do that. We're PRT now. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. We're PRT. We're PRT. Pirates Righteously Truthful. But it's just, it's shocking when somebody tells you the story, but this isn't, I'm going to say this and I'm going to tell you this, folks, this is not the weirdest story I've ever gotten, and it's not the most incredible. I've gotten some stories people get, and it's getting in there, and I'm going to toot my own horn here. I'm not trying to, I hate to do this, but I'm going to, and then my enemies are going to go, see, look, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do that. And just like that, too. They're going to go, They're going to do just like that. They're doing it right now, like a witch, like witches. And just like witches act black masses. I had to do that. War pigs. So they you have to understand something. Like getting these encounters out there. If you're an up and coming YouTuber, or you're someone who's writing books or whatever, get the whole story, man. Get it all. Take the journey with them. You know what people do? They just sit there and they go, yeah, oh, wow. And I'm guilty. I've done that before, too. Or I've talked too much. You got to find that sweet spot where you're trying to, and what you got to do, if you're somebody, listen to what I'm telling you, because we need more people doing what we're doing. Because imagine if we had a few of us, or a dozen of us, or 100, 1,000 Josh Turners and PRTs doing what we're doing, you would have the information, baby. Let me tell you. It's there. You would be there. Art Bell, and I'm not going to say he was one of my heroes. I looked up to him to a degree. I never thought, when I listened to him, I never in a million years thought I would be doing this. Never. I never thought that. Never. I used to listen to Expanded Perspectives and Kyle and Cam. Never thought I'd be hanging out and talking to him at my conference and, or talking to him regularly or whatever. I never planned for that. I never really aspired for that. It just happened, you know? It just happened. It was never planned out. This was not planned. It just happened, you know? But you got to understand something. You have to do your due diligence too, and you have to like listen to people. And you know, when the audience, give me the best information, because it's not really you, it's somebody you know. That's where we get our best stories. Or a friend of ours in our real life will tell me they know somebody, and they'll introduce us to some crazy. Shout out to Stephanie at the what's it called?
Hilton Garden Inn.
Hilton Garden Inn. One of our patrol accounts that I've had to do since my partner's been in the hospital. Giving us just wild stories like this. She's like, you're not going to believe this. Her grandmother, I'm not even going to get into it. It's too much. Or the ladies over at the restaurant, right? And unbelievable. And they'll tell you, hey, I know somebody who's got a story. And you know, it's all on how you approach it. If you sit there and you lackadaisical and you just wait for them to drone on and on and on, because they'll drone on if you allow it. You're the storyteller, not them. It's your job to get their story and you make it something. I don't mean to say drone on and on, but I'm saying they'll just tell you very matter of factly. They'll be like, yeah, and then I saw this and that, because they're not the storyteller. That's not their job to bring it to life. That's your job. You need to get off your fat, lazy ass and do it. Everybody wants everything to be handed to them. You have to go out and reach for that brass ring, baby, not just sit there and wait for it to come to you. You make your own luck, and other types of cliches. But you see what I'm saying? So if you're an aspiring podcaster, YouTuber, or if you're trying to write books or whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're doing, you need to like really go out there and grab life by the balls. And that's what you do when you do these, you tell people's encounters. Hey, can you give me a cold one? This was already dull. I let it sit too long and I'm dying of thirst. I appreciate it. And he went into the other room to grab snacks. And he's gonna eat in front of me with his little skinny face.
I haven't eaten today.
Yeah, I haven't either. But you're like, yeah, you could lose a few pounds. Yeah, okay, Anthony, smart mouth. You were thinking that. I know you were. So, you know, this story was incredible, but it was also true. You know, what happened to this guy. And I could tell this guy was talking. There was no stopping and going, what do I say at this point? Let me make up some more. No, it was just very fluid. So this guy has like the best memory on the planet. And then I corresponded a little bit with the woman named Jennifer, who said that the story that he told, she typed it out to me, like basically confirming what he was saying. And it was what he had told her after this whole thing had happened. And I'm not naive, folks, but I believe this man. I believe that this happened to him. You know why? Because when we went into the archives and we looked up pyramids, we found one other. And I'm sorry to say I had not even opened this up, and it was 2 years old. It was from a guy named Mitch. If you're out there listening, Mitch, please reach out to me. I sent you a message 2 weeks ago, and you haven't responded. So let's hope that Mitch gets back to me, because he had something about a pyramid. He visited Giza and had a bunch of weird stuff that happened to him afterwards. So this Black Pyramid, there's another one too in Bulgaria. Another one. And in Romania. All over the world. These smooth pyramids, and there's these whatever. So he found out that pyramid actually was made, coated, and it was all quartz. And the black rocks, the stones, was masonry that was done about 2.5 million years ago. He was shown this in one of his dreams after he had come back to I say the United States, to the lower 48 states. Somebody argued with me the other day, and they're like, there's 52 states. And I'm like, jeez, man. And they began to say things to me in a group, and I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited for someone. I'm sitting there going like, someone surely is going to correct this person. Surely someone is going to say, hey, dumbass, hello, there are 50 states. It didn't happen. Well, it did, but not. I checked back like 4 hours later, still nothing. And then finally somebody said something. They're like, what? But there were 2 people who backed this person up, and a third who even said that there were 54 states. Yeah. And let me guess, the first president of the United States was Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln was, he's the guy that won World War II. Is that what we're doing? And then somebody asked me how long Patton was the president for. Not to put you on the spot, I'm not going to say your name. I did tell you that I was going to make a joke out of it, and they said, okay. I like you. I like you. You're a good person, but you're crazy, man. You're crazy. Patton was never president. It was Eisenhower who was a general, and he became a president. So that's, I guess I could forgive that one, but come on, man. Are we serious here? You don't know there's 50 states? You don't know what was the last state that was brought to the Union? Do you know? I had to tell people because they think, some people said it was Alaska. No. It was Hawaii. Miguel, there's 55 states, and Africa is the biggest country in the world, and tortillas were invented by the Italians. They were invented by the mafia. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Make flat tortillas like the earth. Do it now. So, yeah, it's unbelievable, the lack of, my people die for lack of knowledge. And my people, they suffer. Jesus says, he says, we suffer, we die for lack of knowledge. So when I start talking and giving knowledge, what happens? Oh, buffering, attacks from the miscreants and the goofball reptilians or whatever. I'm not a reptilian, you're a reptilian. You're a towel, you're a towel, you're a towel. All the time. Trying to do research and trying to learn some stuff, getting some stuff done, and there's this maniac messing with us all day. You think that's a coincidence? If you think that's a coincidence, you're crazy. I got some oceanfront property. You know the saying. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona. It's unbelievable. Who runs Bartertown? Scorpion. Who runs Bartertown? Who does? Who runs Bartertown? Who am I dealing with here? Show me what I'm working with. Is it the dwarf on your back, or?
Are you master or blaster?
Are you the master blaster? Anyway, folks, that's what's going on. So he comes back out of this pyramid, and then there's all these other things that happen, and I could write a book about what he told me. And I encouraged him. I said, look, let me tell you something, Avery. You need to write all this down. And it's still happening to him. It's still happening to him. It is happening to him every day. For, I said 11 years now? Shade Viking says Scorpion runs Bartertown. Scorpion? Oh, okay. Him and Diablo runs the Bartertown. No, I do, baby. You see this fish right here? I don't even know who you are. Punches Scarlet Witch. She doesn't even show up again until WandaVision, where she makes her own little world because she's so, you took everything from me. Psh, get the hell out of my face. Who the hell are you, witch? That's the funniest thing. It just punches her out of the movie. He literally smacks her out of the movie, literally.
Funny part was,
Sugi, yes, you're right. Ignorance can be remedied. You can't fix stupid. Oh, man. And tonight I'll go, and you know what I'll do? I'll do all my rounds, do my routes, take keys to people, go check on guards, and then you know what I'll do? I'll go and do the most ferocious upper body workout you've ever seen in your life. I'll take cold showers. I'll do the Wim Hof breathing and hold my breath for 3 minutes at a pop. And I'll go and I'll lift working out with 315, 3 sets of 20. Because like I said on Blondes and Booze, I read that plaque. It's got a samurai on there. I do what others won't do. They say, well, I can't. You can't because you wouldn't. Do what the body is capable of doing. That's what Wim says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because God gave you a gift. He gave you a machine, and it really doesn't matter who made us. That's irrelevant. There is a God, and that God is the Father of Christ, and he is the progenitor of all things. And he's given you a gift, and you spit on it, and you turn yourself into something that you were never meant to be. Don't allow these people in this weird little matrix that they've constructed to fool you, throw you off from your true potential. These beings that Avery was in contact with, the most incredible thing for me and for my money, the most important thing was they didn't even know. They had the ability to move back and forth through space and time. Now, they were obviously having some kind of issues breathing certain air or whatever, but that didn't stop them. They didn't know what the hell it was. They didn't know who those beings were in those pods. I say pods. They didn't know who built that pyramid. They didn't know where it came from. It wasn't there. They didn't make it. And they were studying it. An interesting thing, too, there was another alien species that was there. There was like a green, light-skinned alien type of reptilian, he assumed, but it was benign. It was just there kind of listening and watching and observing, wearing like a black suit. And that being was from another galaxy and basically had told them that his job basically was just to observe and report, and that his people were there in real time, like they were really there at that time. So their technology, everything, was 8 million years, into the past, and they were advanced enough to go through hyperspace and go through portals and build stargates and walk through them. This was like common knowledge. 8 million years ago. So like when Star Wars, they said, a long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah. Look at the Wheel of Time or read the books. Somebody said they were books. I didn't even know that. Thank you for telling me. I didn't even know they were books. I just saw the first season. And haven't had a chance to even scratch my head to even get through this. People are like, hey, it's a second season. I'm trying to finish Peaky Blinders. I can't even get that done. Folks, I'm doing a lot. But I'm never going to stop giving you what I need to give you and doing what I got to do. And they can gnash their teeth or they can jump for joy. It doesn't matter. I'm going to bring it to you. And you are going to get that information. And now we have people coming to us. They're not trying to be movie stars. They're not trying to write books. They're not trying to be famous. That's the best. Because all this guy wants to do is just, hey, you got a platform, a big audience. I want somebody that can tell my story. And make it sound, the way it's supposed to. Werewolf, good night. We're almost done here. We got another few minutes. But the thing is, when it's time to laugh, it's time to laugh. Everything under heaven. There's a time to sing and a time to dance. Oh, Perry, the roofie guy, was all making fun of me about my singing on the last Sunday, whatever. He watched every minute of it. He's watching right now. Hi, how you doing? I hope you got your cease and desist. Maybe you can shut up now. I know your friend didn't. She got one from someone else, and she's still going. Like the Energizer, like a satanic Energizer bunny. She's still going. See, now she's going to sue me. Sue me, lady. Go ahead. Let's see who comes out on top. Because I'd love to depose all of you. And you're going to drag all your little friends into your case. It's another discussion we're not even going to talk about. That's what's going to happen because you're not going to win. Because you are standing in the way of truth and knowledge. These things need to be heard. They need to be told. Whether your beliefs or whatever they are. One of the things recently, too, Avery, and I told him I had to ask. I said, hey, did you ask about God? He said, not when I was there at the quartz pyramid, because the pyramid was really quartz. That black stuff, I was like, what was that? And he said, that's like something that the pyramid has gotten on it, that it grew on the pyramid. And it keeps things away off of it. I said, I bet it does, because that's black goo. And he goes, what is it? Now, he asked me. I said, you tell me. I said, all I know is I believe it's a type of living fungus. It's a hyper-intelligent fungus. My back is hurting so bad. And so, you know, whenever you get these stories and you talk to people, you put the pieces together. This is what you're supposed to do. You're not just going to don't just get a story and make it into an entertainment thing. Get the story, work with that person, get the information and get everything you can and take it a step further. This is the problem with cryptid researchers, and I'm going to criticize. And they're probably going to come at me with their fists shaking in the air. I want to make money from this bullshit. Yeah, whatever, dude. Look, what you need to do when someone has an encounter, find out about their dreams. You saw a Dogman, which is not a cryptid, by the way. Gerhard says that all the time. It's not a cryptid. That's not a cryptid. That's something else. And Barton calls it inhumanoid. It's probably the best name for it. Look, Bettina says it's a demon. I mean, that's probably what it is. That's interesting, Nellie. Read her comment.
My guess is it would be a limited fungus, as in it can only go so far to me. It is a trial to see how it works, or how it could work, or how it would work. And then they will release the master fungus that can attach to us.
Debbie Cawthor says Dogman is man-made, in my opinion. Yeah, some of them. I don't think they all are. These dreams that we have can explain a lot. Like, you know, Gaetano, he's said it on shows that I've been on with him and shows when he's been on my show. He doesn't like these dreams. Ever since the God helmet. He has these dreams, and it is unbelievable. They're all so vivid and clear, and it's just weird. And it happened after he wore Persinger's helmet. So this guy's having these dreams, though, without a helmet, because he went somewhere that he was just, and it was in the middle of the woods in Alaska, because get this, it wasn't always just a bunch of woods with bears running around out there. Thousands of years ago, the landscape was different. Imagine 1 million years. Imagine 2 million years, and then go back. 8 million years. Imagine what that was like. The landscape changes over and over again. And we can speculate all day about what was there, what wasn't there. We can say this, and we can say that. Yeah. You can say this, and you can say that, and, you know, smack yourself with the wiffle ball bat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you want it to be, because everybody's got their own theory and their own whatever. But we need to be talking to the people who are having these experiences. Yeah, deja vu. You just had deja vu, Tingu? Yeah. Weird, huh? When we talk about this, I get reports, and Anthony can tell you, of people having deja vu during the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are we to believe? What are we to make of all this? What is happening with this? My personal belief is this, that this thing came down. Those beings were in a stasis. They put themselves into a stasis. They were in a foreign world. They had no choice. This AI created whatever vessel that they were in did what it could to protect itself and to protect the occupants, and it did what it was made to do. And it took root and it became whatever it is. And it gives off an energy it takes energy from the air. People think that's crazy. It's not. 0 point. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of energy? You know what I'm talking about? They think that energy has to be like, harvested somehow. No, it's all around us at all times. Tesla knew that. Tesla was very smart. When they asked Einstein what it was like to be the smartest man on the planet, he says, I don't know, you'd have to ask Nikola Tesla. He was smart. But all these wicked, evil men who, frauds, the frauds of the world, they always show up and they take credit for everything. Like Thomas Edison. What a piece of shit he was. He invented the light bulb. He didn't invent anything. He didn't invent shit. Shut up. Alternating current. No, he didn't. You ever heard of Marconi? Mm-mm. Look him up. These people that should have gotten credit for what they created or what they found, they don't. And instead, the lying frauds swoop in, the grifters, and they're in this field too, folks, believe me, there's a lot of them. And so what they do is they gang up and try to destroy the people who are real, the people who are trying to do what needs to be done, the correct, true people, the ones that should be being told, or being the ones that are being told by other people, hey, this is what's happening, and then you relay that information. That's your job. It's a job. And sometimes it's a thankless task. Sometimes I sit up here for 3 hours and my voice is going out and I'm tired. This is time I could be spent sleeping. I don't make a whole lot of money doing this. I make enough to keep going. That's it. And it can be a thankless task. It really can. And so you go to sleep and then you have to get up and do the show. Time to make the donuts. If this wasn't such an important story, I would have stayed asleep. Or if this was just some bullshit, and I thought this guy was a full of shit guy, or if this was some AI-generated fever dream bullcrap made up, whatever, I wouldn't be up here. I'd be like, I can lie to him later or whatever. No. This was important. This is why I'm here. And I'm not the important man. I'm just a person relaying information. But it's an important job. I think it is, anyway. My enemies, I think some of them know that, too. I think some of them absolutely, that's their job. Their job is to stop me and stop us. You are the most important people right now. I'm not going to say on the planet, but that's a stretch. But coming in the future, what's coming, you will be the most important people. You are on the front lines of the changing face of this world. The paratroopers, the ones who are paying attention, don't let the world deceive you. Don't let them take your soul. Don't hang out in the matrix. That's not where we're not children of the matrix. We are not supposed to be here, folks. I'm telling you that right now. So I can't put it all together in two hours and tell you whatever. Thank Matt. Appreciate that, Matt Acosta. Oh, wow. He says, I saw a point of light in the sky tonight. Saw it break the firmament like water, ripple. Yeah. No launches here tonight. Don't know. Got it on vid. Congrats on 35,000, by the way. Thank you. That's an interesting thing there. That's interesting what Miguel Guerra put there too. Let me tell you something before I get off track here too. This Hydra that we were talking about, it's on Rumble. We can't talk about it here, but go listen. And then you have this bacteria, what is it? Not a virus. It's a parasite that gets into these vampires' ears, like Carlos was telling us. I think we haven't told Carlos' story yet. Probably be a podcast episode, then I'll finish it off with a whatever. And this story's not done by a long shot. We have, and Charles, I know you got a story too. You got yours too. But I got to do tomorrow night. I got to bring somebody on to talk about the state parks and the stuff that's going on in these state parks will blow your mind. And thank you. Shout out to Gloria S. for giving me your story. Tomorrow night, we're going to tell your story for sure. I don't know if we're going to tell the one from McKinney, but I'll try to get to it. But this guy's got a story he's got to tell us. So if we have time, we'll get into your story, Gloria, because it matches up with what he's telling us. And there's another state park. This one, it absolutely gives me the chills. And we talked about, you remember the story we told about the guy who saw the Comanches who were out of time and place? They were out of space. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That that state park there.
Okay.
Certain parts of that state park, too, look like they're from another time. Bizarre place. Right outside of Kingsland, where the Chainsaw Massacre house is now. And you just walk into that house, and it feels like a vortex in there. It's weird. And it's weird for me to imagine that I played there and slept there as a child in that house, And me and Gaetano and Palacios, Eric Palacios, all kind of have a weird thing about that place. Eric's aunt lived there, My dad's friend lived there, and of course Gaetano. He's been there, but he wrote the book about the South Texas Blues. It was about that, the making of the movie and all the crazy stuff that went on. And Gaetano knows the actors and all that. But yeah, weird stuff. Things happen for a reason. If you don't think that I met Nellie for a reason, or that Anthony, who was the smart one, like I said, your mom took the Rembrandt and hung it in the garage. I'm like, what are you doing? That's the one right there. What are you doing? Same thing with Tony. Let's take the kid that's going to do something, and let's ignore him and give him a minimal amount of resources. You know who else did that? Hitler. Not joking. Militarily, the guy was a freaking idiot. If he would have shut up and not been on Twitter, never mind. I'm joking, and that's not a swipe at this other guy. I'm making a joke, but yeah, great at leading the country. Great at keeping us, not being broke. We had to be on Twitter all the time. For what? Do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're good at. This guy in Germany, you know what he did? The good units that were doing the hard fighting or whatever, he goes, they can handle it. We'll leave them there for 300 days with no reinforcements and very little supplies, just the minimum, just enough ammunition and whatever. Hold down the fort, guys. Meanwhile, all these fumbling idiots that were, in the Wehrmacht, and I'm not talking about like the pioneer divisions. I'm not talking about them. The other just loose base conscripts, whatever. Let's give them everything. Oh, they lost. Well, let's give them some more. You're dumping money into a rat hole. You're dumping resources into, dude, your powerful units. Give them what they need. Let them other ones just be what they are. And Stalin did the same thing. It was stupid. You were watching two people who had no business meddling in the military fighting a war. I don't think he ever should have invaded Russia. I think he should have done it differently because at some point Russia was going to invade the West. What Stalin was waiting for, and I'm not going to get off into a big old thing, but just so you know, Jim Bob, Stalin was waiting for Hitler to finish taking over the mainland of Europe, and then he was going to roll in and knock them all down after they were weakened from fighting each other. And he thought he was going to be seen as the liberator, and then he was going to lay down communism on everybody. True. That's what was going to happen. If the Americans hadn't, not trying to say we're the heroes, but America came in and, and Russian winter, that's overblown. They say that all the time. That happened to Napoleon, but Hitler's military survived 3 Russian winters. I mean, you can't really say that was it. you know? And of course, if you ask an Eastern European, they're going to say that the worst thing that ever happened was Germany losing. They do, because they had the Iron Curtain that fell on them, and after the war, a lot of these people looked at the Germans as liberators. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It's just the way of the world. Because after that, the Soviet Union, the Red Terror, laid down on those people for 60, 70 years, whatever it was. And people are lied to. Now, I'm not saying the Germans were the good guys. There's no good and bad in war. No way. No way, no how. The Allies were horrible for what they did. They did terrible things. They committed atrocities that you won't know about for another 20 years. You can go and look up the Soviet documents that documented what the Allies did, because they were like, we're going to go and just write this down because we know later on we're going to be able to use it against you because you're going to be our enemy. They knew that. The West was stupid. Very stupid in the way that they did things. And the Soviets, I think they committed the most atrocities of anyone in the whole war. They killed Poles and Jews too, gypsies, everything. Everybody was on the menu. Their own people. The difference is the Germans didn't kill their own people like the Russians did. It was savage. The gulags had every race of man on the planet. True. It's a true thing. They really did all these things. 55 million people, like, evaporated. Good old communism. But let's keep talking about an enemy that's been gone for 80 years. Let's keep lying about it and say how important it is to be against you're talking about a dead enemy. Good that they're dead, but it's still, you're talking about something that's not important right now. And the Russians are not the bad guys now. I'm not saying Ukrainian is the bad guys, but I'm really and truly, it's not our business. I don't support the war one way or the other. But I don't think we should be giving money to all these other countries. Why would you do that? Nothing that's happening makes sense. And you know what? It all goes back to the roots. It all goes back to the roots. If you were to go back ancient, I'm talking to millions of years, like these guys. These guys were there millions of years ago. One of them there was in real time. And then some of them were there. Thank you, Nicholas Bravo. We're walking through and in and out of portals. Because it's funny, we were watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force one day. You know that robot chicken guy, whatever? Yeah. And he's like, 8 million years in the past into the future. Or whatever. Yeah. He says it like, you know, it's like a double take, you know. Mm-hmm. It's basically future past. And what do you think of this? I was thinking about writing a book, kind of like along the lines to add to what David Icke has already done, that Tales of the Time Loop. Yeah. And thought about it. I was going to call it Events of Futures Past.
That sounds really cool.
Because it is a time loop, and I've studied it, folks. I'm getting the chills right now, and I'm going to tell you why. Years ago, and Anthony can tell you this is not something I'm just making up right now. No. This was years ago. And Scorpion is in the audience. I just saw him. He knows this is true. My brother, if he's there, he can tell you it's true. And all my friends, I've told them this story. Years ago, I'm saying over 20 years ago, I saw my alternate reality selves. I've seen past lives, too. There's a reason for that. Because I had no idea at the time that I was going to be doing this. And that it was going to mean something and it was going to be important. I did not understand. I did not get it. Robo Turkey, he can't finish his sentence without telling the story of the Great Turkey War. Charles says, I will be offline most of the... Is that a joke or... Thank you, Madeline. She says, Wolf, with all the knowledge you have, you can write an incredible book about anything. I thought about writing one about economics, and I thought about just distributing it, and this is no lie, and I've told Anthony this, about writing a book for free. Just a free book that anybody can get, and it's all about the economy, and it lays down everything. Did you know that today, Warren, or not today, but this past week, you know what Warren Buffett did? He pulled a bunch of stock out of Apple. You're like, what does that have to do with anything? It has a lot to do with everything. If I was to win the lottery tomorrow, I give you my word, I would write 3 books. If I didn't need the time, because time is money, I cannot just sit there and do that. But I would write books just to give to the paratroopers, so that you would have that knowledge. You would understand economics, history, science, maybe even give free math classes. I'm really good with math. Any subject you throw at me, I can do it. And this is not me going like, I'm a superhuman. No, dude, I'm just trying to help you. These other people cannot do that, and they will not do that because they don't care. The lottery has a curse on it. Yeah, not for me, because I'm not going to keep all that money. I'm going to do what I can to help people and live like a normal human being. Nobody's ever thought of that. Instead of being overcome with the spirit of greed, and what can I buy for myself? And some guy told me, well, it's easier for you to say you wear all that gold and you have a nice vehicle. You don't think I worked my ass off for it? You don't think I'm working every day? And besides that, this is all going to get melted down when it's time, because this is an investment and I'm wearing it. And I've been doing this for a long time because I told everybody, and Anthony, you know this.
Oh, yeah.
Buy gold for the last 20 years. I told everybody during the housing, but before, a year, 2 years, was it a year or 2 years before the housing bubble?
Yep.
I told your mom. Mm-hmm. And I told my other sister, why are you buying houses the size of gymnasiums? You don't need that. Let me take a look at the contract. And in the middle, oh, you got to pay $30,000. Do you have $30,000 laying around? No? Okay, you're screwed. And then if you do pay the $30,000, guess what? You get the privilege of paying quadruple your mortgage. So your mortgage that was $2,800 is going to go, you're going to be paying $8,000, whatever. It was some crazy, $4,000 or whatever. It was crazy. They got you. Thanks, Bill. You and your buddy, the Bushes, everybody's going to say that, but that you repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. I said it last night on the Rumble. Can't get too far into it on here. Quiet, but you know, why did he do that? He gave them that power because that's what they do. They're called the elite, and that's not you, and it's not me. We are not in that club, as George Carlin said. It's a secret club. You're not in it. But you don't have to die for lack of knowledge. You don't have to suffer. You don't. There's things you can do to learn. And if I had the time, I would write just, if nothing else, just a 100-page thing just about the economy. I don't know that I could ever get that time because I have so many things to do. But you could learn, you could understand how it works and how we've been played and played and played. You pay taxes on taxes to pay taxes on taxes. They nickel and dime you and screw you to death. Plebes are us. Yeah, exactly. Plebs. And then you know what they say about us? The higher you get, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
They say that about us. No, that's not meant for them. They just keep going up into the stratosphere. And if you get too high up on the ladder, guess what? They castrate you. It's just the truth. Nellie says, buy people the things they need, not the things that would push pride. It's about love, help, nothing else. That's right. We don't talk about the things we do for people. We don't. We know that, we all know that there's a food drive we do at Christmas. But we don't discuss all the other things because it's not. You don't help somebody, you don't help people, and then go and talk about it so you can get some sort of like, look at me, I'm so holy. No, we don't do that. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I'm a righteous man, because who is righteous in this day and age? You know, people you think are righteous, or they'll lie to you and tell you they're righteous. You can go to that show up in Oklahoma and he'll tell you how righteous he is, what a good guy he is. That's what he does. That's what they all do. They all do. He's not the only one. I'm not singling you out there, Ike. There's others. And what they do is they feel like they are owed something by the world because they're so good and that you're buying into it. Biggest crock of shit ever. And then they mass report my show so that we lose subs and views and everything else. And then people die for lack of knowledge because of people like that, because they want to be heard. Robin, you're right. Absolutely. It is, Miguel. Bad thing. And now when somebody talks about the abilities that they have, the first thing your mind goes to is they're full of shit or they're full of pride when they're just telling you the truth. These people back in the day when Jesus talked and said things, they were like, oh, this guy's just talking. He's trying to, he wasn't just talking to hear himself talk. No, he had something to say. And you murdered him. You murdered him. And the people that murdered him have passed the buck. It was the Romans. No, it was you. The Pharisees. You did it. You got your way. But what they don't understand is when you get your way like that, you're actually fulfilling what needs to happen. When you kill the wrong person or the right person, depending on how you look at it, what they say becomes very, very important all of a sudden. People are like, why did they kill this guy? And then they want to go and look and listen and hear what the guy had to say. More people learned about Christ through his death, through his life. You see how that works? Dead's dead, yeah, but I wouldn't use that wording, but yeah, I get it. Yep, Robin, this life is for spiritual growth, not physical. The thing is, though, it's connected. So do things for your body to keep your body healthy, and it'll help the spirit be healthy. I haven't felt right since the war, this information war that we had waged on us. They've cursed me over and over again, folks. I promise you, I'm not making this up. I'm telling you the absolute truth. In fact, Icky Boy had told me that his compatriots did that. He told me, he admitted it to me and Bettina on the phone. Yeah, they cursed me. They built an altar. They put an altar, a demonic altar in my house. They did that. They've cursed our bodies. They've cursed us every way. For what? His words to me and Bettina, jealousy. Pure jealousy. So you basically try to destroy me physically, mentally, and spiritually out of your want to be something that you're not. When you could literally do what I do. Now, you may not have the mental capacity, and that's not a slight on anybody. I'm not talking trash. But you could do these things, but you don't have the desire to. You have the want. But you don't have the desire, the ambition, or the will to feed it. You want to sleep till 6 o'clock in the evening every day. That's not how the world works. I go to bed about 7 or 8 in the morning and I wake up at noon. So I'm asleep for a few hours in the morning and that's it. I'm not supposed to be asleep in the afternoon. I got to be up doing things and then I got to work all night. And now I have to do more, have more responsibility. But you know what? I'm happy to do it because the man that I care about, that was like a father to me, and is like a father to me, and he's always been like a father to me since I've known him, is in the hospital recovering. So it's my job. So I get called upon once again to do what needs to be done. Look up Cincinnatus. You know who he is? You know who he was? We should all strive to be like him. You know who Cincinnatus was, Anthony? When Rome was threatened, one of the first wars that they faced, he put down his tools, left his farm, and he went and he led an army. Came home. This is in a nutshell very quickly here. He came home. They wanted him to be the king. They offered him the leadership. Much like George Washington. They wanted him to be the king. He did the same thing. George Washington said he was following Cincinnatus' example, and he took his weapons and he handed them back to the Roman Senate and said, no, I'm going to return to my field and my farms now that I know that Rome is safe. It's not my job to be a dictator. Take an example. Take an example from him. Do it. That's what we all should do. If we all cared about one another, we really did care about one another, that's what would happen. So there's going to be more to come about this guy because it's not over. There was a lot of other stuff that happened with him. And the story continues, just like with the Petra, with Agnes. Mm-hmm. And like I said, with her, she's something else. Talking to her is an adventure. I was aggravated talking to her at some point. I just, you know what? I'm not going to be aggravated with you. She's a cantankerous individual. Yeah, she admits it. A bit eccentric. But she's got something to tell, and it's a story that needs to be told because it's a cautionary tale about when you deal with these beings. You got to be real careful. They play for keeps, too. They'll follow you. You go into their territory. It's not like they chase you out and then they're okay with it. You know, the Mongols would do that. And then you'd run. Their enemies fled to the Khyber Pass in Afghanistan and set up an ambush. And Kubla was like, oh, really? Okay. So then we're just going to go and lay down on either side of it, and you're going to starve to death up there. And you know what they did? They killed all the game.
Jeez.
So that they would nothing to eat. Made makeshift dams and closed it up, and they died up there. They starved and died of thirst and hunger. Even Alexander didn't do that. Alexander just rode through and fought the steppe warriors, and then they picked off a bunch of his people, but he managed to get through. Because, you know, the indomitable will of the human spirit. Nobody believed that Hannibal could cross the Alps. And I'm sad that it's going to be Denzel Washington because Hollywood hates Arabic people, so they're not going to use an Arab to play that. They should have an Arabic actor to play Hannibal. He was not a black man. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm nothing against black people. I love black people. I love white people. I love everybody.
Yeah. Well, Northern Africa is very different than Sub-Saharan Africa.
I disagreed with James Bartley. James Bartley said he was glad that they were using an African American. I said, yeah, but he wasn't a black man.
I mean, African doesn't mean black, though.
It does not, you know. Well, I get where James is coming from, but, yeah. You know, because if they use Tom Cruise, I'd be really pissed.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is the last samurai? Really? I'm Shaka Zulu. How about that? Exactly, overbuilt. Just ignore them because they're so full of it. Do you know that they people always use this line, and it irks me. They say, they're out of ideas. Bullshit. There's as many ideas as there are stars in the sky. There's as many ideas as there are sand of crystals on the beach. But they won't tell them. They won't tell them. You know why? Because they have an agenda. And people say, oh, they want money. They can print money out of thin air, and they're richer than anything that's ever existed on this planet. What are you talking about? They don't need money. They want you. You're their target. They have an agenda. There's an agenda in place, and that has to be upheld above all things. Their worship of Moloch, the imperator of Lucifer. This is what they do. This is their that's the agenda right there. They want your children. They want you. They want your blood. Richard says, I don't think Carthage were Arabs. Okay, they weren't. They were the predecessors of Arabs. Richard Ramirez. They were actually Berber people. When the Islamic invasion took place, it was an Arabic push. There were some Arabs there. They were the minority. Then it flipped, and the Berber became minorities in their own land. He said, I don't think they were Arabs. They weren't black. I promise you they weren't. Genetically, they were not. You know, it was Tunisia was where their capital was, but they expanded their empire into Libya, Morocco, Algeria. And then they were defeated by the Romans and turned into a vassal state of Rome. And they existed as a Roman city for another, hundreds of years. But that's what happened. I studied Hannibal Barca, believe me. You know, he had a brother, Hasdrubal, who was very important too. Him and his brother, they conquered together, but only people remember Hannibal. Hasdrubal was very important too. And guess what? Just like Alexander, it was their dad that pushed them. Yeah, Philip of Macedon, the one-eyed king, he was the one that trained Alexander for his destiny. Mm-hmm. The last emperor, they were black. Look at the coin. No, they weren't. Sorry. I don't care what you say. That's not true. Carthaginians were not black, dude. They were not. Do you know what the race of Berber is? Do you know what that is? And then they say the Moors, and they were basically a mix of Arabs, literally Arabs, and Berber. That's what they were. I'm a Hannibal fan. I've wore a shirt with Hannibal on it. Don't try to touch. You're not going to school me. I know these things. Believe me, I know these things. It's like when somebody starts talking about the myths that they spout out what are really myths about these leaders, about this person, that person. Catherine the Great, she committed bestiality. No, she didn't. That was them trying to besmirch her. It's the truth. This guy. Dude, okay, last emperor. I'm not going to take you off. You're allowed to say what you want, but you're full of shit. Sorry. Yes, they were. They were descendants of Nephituians, whatever. They were black. No, they were not. No, they weren't. If you even look at the people that live below Saharan Africa, okay, let's go to the Eritreans. Let's go to the Ethiopians. Do you know what that is? Those are in-between countries. Those are sub-Saharan African people mixed with Saharan African people. The Saharan African people were not black. I'm sorry. You can say what you want, and it's very popular to say things like that, but it's not the truth. It doesn't make it true. And you can scream that till your eyes bleed. It doesn't make it true.
I mean, even today, that same region that was Carthage, it's not predominantly full of black Africans.
It's not.
African doesn't mean black. It just means African.
They want that to be the case, but it's not. Do you know who lived in? Okay, he says those only became that way after Arab-Persian invasions. The Persians did very little invading of that area. They didn't hold on to it. They were driven out. And the Persians were practically white at that time. They were Indo-Europeans. Did you know that? Because they're not Arabs. They are not Arabs. And the Arabs came there. They were Berbers that were there before that, and they were not black. I'm telling you. The Egyptians, they looked more like the Egyptians. The Egyptian you're missing that. That's another country in Saharan Africa. This is an argument to talk about on Rumble. I'm not going to argue with you on here. Folks, I promise you, I'm telling you the truth. I know genetics. I do. And I know history. That's my, we can argue about it. It's not the truth. So now ancient Egypt wasn't black either. Okay. So now you're going to tell me that the ancient Egyptians were black. Are you really saying that right now? Are you seriously saying that? Egyptians are more golden skin tone? Yes, exactly. So let me guess, last emperor, who are you? You're the last emperor. Emperor of what? The Nubian Empire? Dumbass?
I don't even think that he's actually being legitimate because his profile is some profile picture is like some ridiculous AI picture. That's like
Ban him, get him out of here. Go away, dude. All right, free speech for you is done. You're an ignorant ass person, dude.
it's probably one of those Nation of Islam people or something.
Oh, he's probably one of those like, we're the real Jews or whatever, and then they call everybody a coolie and go coolie on the street corner or whatever. And the dumbest thing ever, they say, oh well, it all goes by your dad. If your dad was black, Hispanic, or Indian, then you're okay to be here, but not if your dad was white. Do you know why the Hebrews actually used the mother? Does anybody know? Because it's very common sense. Most all of Judaism, the Noahide laws, everything, the Code of Deuteronomy was all based on practicality and pragmatism. Very simple. Don't eat pork because trichinosis has a worm that'll go into your brain. Right? That's what it is. Don't eat shellfish because you get sick and throw up. And then they made a whole religion about it. Let me tell you something, you ignorant ass fool. Okay? And I shouldn't call you a fool, but you're a fool. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, what you want to be is not what is. I don't give a damn. You can scream till your ears bleed. It doesn't make it true. This is the way it is. The Ptolemies. It's like, I've heard people say, Cleopatra was black woman. No, she was not. She was a Ptolemy. And they actually inbred. And the Ptolemies were who? They were from the Alexandrian line. Ptolemy was his brother. They were really Macedonians is what they were. They ruled it for 400 years. People are retarded, man. You got the retardation. You don't understand. It's just shut up. If you don't know what you're talking about, shut up. Don't come on my thing and start with your fake AI profile trying to tell me what's what. You're ignorant. You're stupid. And you can sit here and argue all day long like Perry the Roofie guy and say what you want. I believe Anunnaki. It's my show, and you're wrong. You're wrong. Got the retardation. He said, that was after the invasions of... Shut up, dude. No, dude, the Carthaginians were not. They weren't. That is so stupid. There are actual books that have his description of him on there as a tawny-skinned man. Right? That's what he was. He was brown. He was not. They do not describe him as being an African, like a sub-Saharan African. He was a Saharan African, which is a different group of people. I mean, dude, this is ridiculous, man. So the reason that the Hebrews and then later the children of Israel and then the Jews themselves, there was an evolution of what they were. They chose. It goes by the mother. You know why? Because this is what they say. And it's very, very, very clear. All right? Your mother, you know that's your mother. You don't know who your dad is. Back in the day, especially back in the day, now you can take a paternity test. But how many people are doing that? Now, if the baby's born and you look like your dad, like I look like my dad a lot, unfortunately, it's pretty obvious. Like you look like your dad. It's pretty obvious. Like that's your dad. You know what I mean? You look like your dad. Like Barrett, his son looks like a clone of him. Mm-hmm. Like when he's getting older. Because I remember Barrett when he was a little kid. Now his son is just like it's like him. He looks like him. Like they cloned him. Now you know that's his son. But the Hebrews were right in that you didn't know who your dad was. And back then there was a lot of fighting and barbarism and stuff. Yeah. Women getting raped. So why would it go by your dad? You don't even know who your dad is 100%. So you don't know that. These stupid people tried to tell me at the club that night, whatever, at our Ashes bar. Yeah, in order for you to be forgiven by us, you have to kiss our feet. They told me that, the black Israelites. I said, I wouldn't kiss your feet at gunpoint. I don't give a damn if you had a gun to my head. I don't care. I would never kiss your feet. And at that point, it took everything in me not to break their feet and their face and everything else on their face, chest, neck, and head area. Just, I was like, I can't even believe you had the balls. But even with 5 of your friends standing to tell me that. And you were there. And I told him, I said, you couldn't make me kiss your feet at gunpoint. I said, you're welcome to kiss my ass. I can bend over and you can do it right now. I'm not going to argue and suffer myself to argue with fools. And I went back to my dinner. I said, look, you believe how you want. And let's see how far you get with that. Because you can shit in one hand and want in the other and see which one you get first. Richard Ramirez says, Don, North Africans, Islam take black slaves even to this day. The slave trade is propped up by the Fulani Muslims, predominantly Nigerians. If you were to go to Africa, Richard, have you been to Africa? I've been there twice. I've been there twice. I've been all the way down the bottom, been up toward the northeast, or northwest, And yeah, there are Nigerian Fulanis in every country in Africa. I kid you not. They are typically soldiers and they recruit child soldiers. And you know what they do? They literally are mercenaries all over Africa and they fight in every war and they do all these things. So that's what they do. So yeah, they take slaves and the slave trade was very simple. You want me to give you an outline of the slave trade? I'll do it on Saturday on Rumble, and I'll offend everybody. But I'm going to tell you exactly who the slavers were and who did it and how it started. Everybody had a hand in it, but there were 4 players in particular. The Africans themselves, the Arabs, the Jews. I can't lift my third finger there, but whatever, the Jews. And then white people, Caucasians. But all we're going to hear about is the one race that did it. And don't look at me. My mom's Mexican. I'm a half-breed. So I'm going to tell you the truth. That's the truth. You want to be offended? I'll offend you. But I'll lay it out there, and I will smack you down with it. Last emperor. Doesn't the fighter from Russia call himself the last emperor?
I don't know what he calls himself.
Yeah. What's his name? What is that guy's name?
Talking about Khabib?
Nah, not that
know
fool,
that guy.
that idiot that got slapped by when what's his name, the Mexican guy, the one that's all his face looks like hamburger every time he fights. You can't knock him out. Oh God, he slapped him in the audience. I thought it was hilarious.
Was it
Fedor? There you go. But the other guy, the Mexican fight, Nate Diaz.
Oh yeah.
Nate Diaz slapped the shit out of because they were teasing him and messing with him. Khabib and his little pack of fiends up there. I can't stand Khabib. I cannot stand that cocky little bastard. I cannot. F you, dude. I cannot stand him. I cannot stand people who are disrespectful to other fighters. You're a very disrespectful turd. You beat Conor. Conor was cocky. We all know that. But I'd take a Conor over Khabib any day. You're a piece of shit. That's what I think of you. So anyway, Fedor Emelianenko, who to me really was the last emperor, he was the baddest fighter on this planet. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Mike Tyson said that. Mike Tyson called him the baddest man on the planet. Well, what does that say? And Emelianenko. He's the last emperor. Who are you, dude? Some guy with fake history lessons? Get the F out of here, dude. You're stupid. He was black, it's coins. We're the real Israelites. I don't give a shit who the Israelites. You could be who you want to be. I identify as whatever I need to identify as. When I'm driving a Dodge Charger, I identify as a Prius. So I can go and I can park in, it's a Tesla. I identify as a Tesla, so I can park in the electrical spots. How about that? And when I whoop that ass, I identify as a woman. I was defending myself. He touched my breast. I had to defend him. I also identify as a woman that just had a child. He was trying to take my baby's dinner. I had to defend my baby's dinner. I had to whoop that ass. And they're like, why is his face flat? I smashed it, sir. I did. I smashed his face with the fist of Thor, which is what would happen. And I'd beat you so stupid, you would be more stupid about history. You'd be like, the Romans were black. Because you would have the retardation worse than you do now. Retard. Now go join the Filthy Eight or whatever they're up to. The evil 8. and be part of them. Moron. Learn history. Oh, let's learn the history that they teach in school, right? Let's do long division that takes 8 hours, like when your brother came home with that ridiculous homework. Remember we looked at it?
Yeah.
And Anthony was like, what in the hell is this shit? And I look at it and I'm like, what? And Paulito, bless his heart, he's like, yeah, that's what they want us to do. I'm like, why on God's beautiful green earth would you make kids do that? Common Core math. This is what this guy is learning, folks. Common Core history. It's a new category they got now. And you think I'm going to back down? There's a prison gang, when they came to me and said, yeah, we're so-and-so. I'm like, that sounds like a flavor of Kool-Aid. I mean, a flavor of Powerade. What are you? Are you a drink, beverage? What are you? You don't know who we are? Yeah, I don't really give a shit. There's 50 of us and 10 of you. Let me tell you something. 10 real warriors, real fighters can smoke 100 other people who pretend to be soldiers. Just completely wipe them out. Decimate them. Completely destroy them. Me and 10 of my guys have annihilated big, huge. I mean, I don't care what your numbers are. When you know how to hit, doesn't matter. And how do you learn these things? You use your brain. And I'll say this. I love my fight friends, but get out the game while you still have a brain. Because if you stay too long, you take too many punches, you won't be able to do what I do. I quit training and getting punched in the head when I was about 31. I said, I'm not going to do this. And I didn't take as many punches as my friends, and they would be like, we're going to go this percent, that percent. No, you're not, because I'm not going to let you hit me in the head. If you do, I hit hard. I'm going to hit you back like Kimbo Slice. Go ahead. Watch what happens. Like Tank Abbott, I'm going to hit you hard. I know a lot of fighters. I know those two right there in particular. They hit very hard, and I hit very hard too. And I'm very, very, very quick for a big dude. I'm about a middleweight hand speed. Go look at my videos. You think I'm joking? I will knock you the F out, dude, real fast, real quick. So that's why you got to carry your gun, because people like me exist. I understand that. I get it. But I'm not a maniac. I'm not going to go out there and just attack you. But some of these people, they will do that. Some of these people are talking about, I'm going to whoop your ass. I mean, you're not going to whoop anything. You're going to learn a lesson today, son. I'm not into teaching lessons to fools, but I'm going to teach one to you. You get a freebie. And I'm going to beat you enough to where next time you won't mess with somebody. That's it. I've actually done a disservice to a guy. I was going to slap him one time, and I thought about it, and I said, let him pop off to the wrong gangbanger one day and let that guy kill him. And it happened. And then I felt terrible, because a good slap upside his face, and I could have probably changed his existence. Could have slapped him out of the movie. But I didn't do it, because I knew that would happen, and I let it happen. And I felt guilty. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? So that's what happens with people that think that they're smart and they don't actually do research. Somebody will pimp slap you intelligent. You know, you're not intelligent. Give it a rest, because you're not smart. Go learn. Real history, written by real people, not this fake, phony baloney bullshit that you've been pumped into your brain, that just because they want to be politically correct. Political correctness is a lie and a disease. And we're not here to tell lies. But that is the truth. That is really the truth. Yeah, next Saturday. Do you want me to tell you the history of slavery? I can lay it out there for you. I can tell you how it went. And the Islam always saying, oh, we didn't have slaves. Yes, you did. You were the biggest purveyors of it. Yes, you were. The Turks did it up until like the late 1800s. The Ottomans. Actually, up until the 1920s or the early 1900s. It was stopped after World War I. So we can go on and on. You can talk about this stuff all day long. So that's it. If you want to know the truth, I'll tell you the truth. I'm the furthest thing from a bigot. I can tell you that right now. Jim Bob, cultural Marxism. Exactly. That's what it is. Caitlin McLeod, yes, it is horrible. They're live on the show. Bless you, Anthony. Hey, take a look. Put yourself on camera, Anthony.
I don't have snot all over my face. Do I?
What? No.
Feels like I do. I just sneeze hard.
Well, okay. Just take a look at this man. His skin tone and his hair, that is Hannibal right there. That's not, I'm not saying he looks like Hannibal, but Hannibal was a tall, thin guy. But I think she probably would kind of look like him. I got a book that has a picture that was drawn of him.
Thank you
And
for that, Nicholas.
you look like him and Hasdrubal.
Mm-hmm.
They look like you. And you're clearly not an African American.
Yeah.
Or I should say African. We're so used to saying African American and we say it.
Yeah.
But African. You're not an African. Dick Richards says, "What's up, booger face?" All right, Nicholas Bravo says, "I got to go to bed, brother. Look up the Discovery Cube Museum in Santa Ana, California. Never heard of it. See what's out in front of the museum. You guys are awesome, and good night." And on that note, I will leave you guys to it. Thank you. And I wasn't trying to get snarky with this dude, but he wants to keep on talking his bullshit. Go ahead. What you said was not true. And I don't give a damn what the History Channel says, because like South Park says, the History Channel, where the truth is history. They've turned that into the damn Hitler Channel. Every time I turn the TV on, it's about Hitler. Finally they
don't even do that anymore.
They quit doing it,
now
though.
It's just reality TV.
Well, you know why they quit doing it? Because there were so many people that complained. They were like, why do we have to look at Hitler every day? Every day. Because it's conditioning, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, every day. There's some things we're going to talk about on Rumble that's going to blow your mind. We're going to keep talking, we're going to talk, and we're going to talk. But tonight, the show, the story, before we got into all this, and we ended up 40 minutes over where we were supposed to stop. The show, think about what this guy said, what Avery talked about, and what he said to me. It was very, very interesting. And this whole pyramid, the Black Pyramid, which was something I had never really looked into. We had heard a little bit about it, but not to that level. But there's a lot of stories about it. So anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everybody that donated. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Nicholas Bravo, for that last-minute donation. That was great. And we all appreciate everything you do and say to us, even the ones that say inflammatory things and refuse to stop. Then that's a good teaching point right there, right? Because, even my enemies, they'll be like, this is a teaching lesson, even though they never teach you shit. They do use that term so they can try to drive home some propaganda. This is just the truth. And that guy's full of shit. Go be the last emperor on someone else's channel, because you're the last moron on the left as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Remember, tomorrow night, we're going to be back here in studio on the Tube of You. I thought about maybe doing it on Rumble, but people were saying that they were having a hard time with that app and all that. So we're going to try to just keep doing it on the Saturdays. But if you guys, we had, several hundred people on Rumble. Kind of think maybe we should do it on Rumble because it's something that needs to be said. So we're just going to see what we can do. We're going to try YouTube and see how that goes. And if we need to say things that, then we might just switch over. I don't know. It depends. Okay. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening and tuning in, and good night. Tomorrow night, we're going to do it, 8 o'clock. All right. Thank you. You know what? I feel like I need to say something else. What am I forgetting here? Subscribe to Paranormal Sound Table. The new song Envy is out. And then do us a favor. of liking and subscribing us on Rumble, please. Please do that and like and subscribe to us here if you are not already. And yeah, tomorrow night is very important because we're going to talk about things going on in the state national parks. And we have a guy that's going to come on and tell his story. So please tune in.